Bosworth, the other side. And we talked to Brian beforehand. He's gotten awfully quiet here recently. And you can hear the fans. Here come the Longhorns. 2-1 on the year. They only lost the season opener. That was to Stanford, the first loss ever in September for Freddie Akers.
Jim Lampley. Oklahoma won the toss, deferred to the second half, meaning the Sooners will have the option at halftime. Meanwhile, Texas has elected to receive. So Mike Adamle will get a chance to see Mr. Stafford at work right away, who is quite a change in that Texas offensive scheme. The offense is not nearly as predictable as it has been in the past. They show a multitude of formations, a little variety in their motion, and Stafford is a passing quarterback.
Last year, Timmy, he was third in the Southwest Conference in passing efficiency. Through 3 games this year, Texas has thrown the ball 85 times. Through 11 games in 1985, they passed 108 times. So already you know that Texas is airing it out.
Last year, the Sooners held the Longhorns to 70 net yards total offense, which is the lowest total of Akers' era at Texas. They dominated. You know, Brian Bosworth talks big players. He's ready for this one. He has Fred Akers' name taped to his ankles. Kicking off will be Todd Thompson, number 91. Deep for Texas, Kevin Nelson, number 32, and Laren Brown, 84. Both are Flyers, sub 4.4 40s. A backyard brawl, Texas, Oklahoma. Fans are ready, the crowd is ready, we're ready, and the game is on. In the end zone, he didn't field it. It goes through. The ball will come out to the 20-yard line. This is the way they'll line up offensively. We told you that Brett Stafford, the quarterback, is a throwing quarterback. He is the catalyst. Hunter and Norris, the running backs. Norris short but strong, powerful. Everett Gay, 19, the flanker, and they will go to him. Brett Stafford, 85 attempts. They only threw about 150 times all last year. And this is just the 4th game for Texas, so you can see that they are throwing more. This is first down at the 20. Texas, pressure backside, get the ball out. That's Hunter, and Hunter takes it across the 20 to the 24-yard line. That's Charles Hunter, 6'1", 215-pounder, and he's from Odessa, Texas.
It's got to be a delight to Texas fans watching him throw on first down.
This is the Texas Longhorn offensive line. Now Houston is preseason Southwest Conference player, but it is Paul Jeton who is the biggest man on that offensive line. He's 6'5", 281 pounds, and he is fast, he's strong, he's quick. They said they will try to run behind him. Kevin Nelson comes into the ball game. Everett Gay goes out. It is 2nd and 6 for Texas. Again, it's Hunter. Hunter gets to the 25, and that'll be it. Good pursuit by Brian Bosworth and Ricky Dixon on the Oklahoma defense. And we'll hear a lot about Brian Bosworth today. The defensive alignment, the defensive talent for Oklahoma. And although Brian Bosworth gets all the publicity, and he certainly is one of the top 3 players in the country, played his heart out against Miami and is very consistent throughout his career. But this is the Bosworth tape job on his shoes today, Freddie Akers. But the point I was going to make is that Miliazzo, the other linebacker, 42, is also very strong. On 3rd and 5, the pass is incomplete. Texas now will have to punt it back to Oklahoma. Everett Gay was the intended receiver, but good coverage on that side by Lonnie Finch. Bryce Waits comes into the ball game now. He is a true freshman to punt it away for Texas. He's from Plano, Texas, the same hometown as Tim Lasher, the Oklahoma place kicker. Patrick Collins, 33, is deep for Oklahoma. A low end-over-end kick. It is short. It's taken by Patrick Collins. And he's up to the 47-yard line. A 34-foot, 34-yard punt. Return is 7 yards. But the bottom line is here that Oklahoma is starting with good field position. And the catalyst is Jameel Holloway. He's the one that makes the wishbone run. So it is first down, 10 yards to go, just underway at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Great field position for Oklahoma. The give is to Tillman. Britt Hager, who was not supposed to play today, is into the ball game. Hager has been injured. Oklahoma Sooner offensive line, big, strong, fast. The Phillips brothers both run 4.8 40s. But the key today could be Keith Jackson. He is indeed a talent, and these numbers may be a little bit misleading. Last week, the tight end for Rice caught 9 passes, and I'll guarantee you, Barry Switzer watched those films, and he knows how available that tight end is against that Texas defense. There, Lee Brockman comes up and makes the stop. So that'll bring up third down for Oklahoma. Texas defense shows some aggressiveness early on. Aldridge is the mainstay in this offense, and the pressure will be on Thomas Aldridge today because he is the right end. The right end, the left end, they have to contain the Oklahoma wishbone. They can't let him hit the corners. The pitch outside is Tillman, and he's got plenty of room. To the 20, 30, 25, and knocked down at the 22-yard line by Stephen Braggs. Those corners we were just talking about, Mike.
Defending the wishbone is a matter of individual responsibility. Somebody has to be responsible for number 20, Spencer Tillman, the pitchman. He just got outside. He made a quick work of that perimeter there. Finally, number 6 knocks him out of bounds. Not before a 22-yard game.
First and 10, the ball on the 21. The give inside the big Lydell Carr. And Carr bangs his way down inside the 15 before Stephen Braggs can make the tackle.
And when you think about defending the bone, Timmy, you got to think about that fullback, too. That's one of the reasons why Miami had such success defensively against them. They held Carr and Leon Perry. Carr's back up to just 17 yards. You stuff the fullback, you got a chance to stuff the wishbone, but they haven't done a good job so far.
Second and 2. Carr. And he'll be close. When you defend the wishbone, everybody has an assignment, and you have to carry through the assignment no matter where you think the ball is. The down tackle has to take the dive man with assist from the linebacker. If there's a fake there, the linebacker has to scrape off and take the quarterback along with the defensive end, depending on the defense that's called. And the cornerback on that side has to offer a lot of support to the run and get up quickly to the pitch man. It is 3rd and 1. 2 tight ends, Parham and Jackson for Oklahoma. Holloway on the quarterback sneak. He's got it. Oklahoma really does absolutely nothing fancy. They just line up, know they have good talent, they're strong talent. The rules of the game, straight ahead, no fair dodging, and they come at you.
If I was Barry Switzer, I'd do exactly the same thing. His offensive line, probably the best it's been in about 10 years, Tim. Big, powerful, strong, and experienced. OU now 6 rushes, 39 yards. They're chewing up that Texas defense.
Again, to give inside the 10 to the 9 is Lydell Carr. Lydell Carr is 6'2", 225 pounds. He's a junior. Beat Oklahoma. There's Barry Switzer. Quite a story. 3 national titles in 13 years. Enters the Cotton Bowl today for the 21st time in this series, more than any other coach that has ever participated in this series. 2nd and 9, the ball at the 9. Reverse pivot by Holloway. The pitch outside is Patrick Collins. Touchdown, Oklahoma.
Does his job, but the man who was supposed to pick up Patrick Collins does not, and he scores easily to give the Sooners a 6-0 lead.
Jim Lasher is on to attempt the extra point. The holder, Glenn Sullivan, has it down. The kick is up, and it's good. So Lasher now, 24 of 24, and point after touchdown. Oklahoma comes out and asserts its power immediately. A dominant force, and the Sooners lead 7-0.
Today's Texas-Oklahoma game marks the first time since 1968 that both teams enter the contest with a defeat.
Here's a painfully familiar sight for Oklahoma fans. In Morgantown, West Virginia, first possession of the game for Miami. Testaverde to Mike Irvin. 11 yards, and the #1 ranked Hurricanes are cruising as always on top 7-0 early against West Virginia. Now back to Dallas.
It's like a man among boys, isn't it? A man amongst boys. Vinny Testaverde. Here Oklahoma came out and scored quickly. Great field position. Started at the 47, moved right down the field. Very little trouble. So Todd Thompson is on to kick off for Oklahoma. Big number 91. Deep for Texas, Kevin Nelson, Laren Brown. This is Kevin Nelson. And he won't return it, so they'll bring it out to the 20. Right now, let's go downstairs. Here's Becky Dixon.
Tim, there are some who might say this classic battle is somewhat similar to the battle between the North and the South. Now, up in the stands, it often pits brother against brother, father against son. But in the case of Keith and Gene Cale of Fort Worth, Oklahoma versus Texas mean husband versus wife. He wears his Sooner red. She wouldn't be caught without her burned orange. He booms Boomer Sooner, while Gene counters with the eyes of Texas are upon you. Now, to further add to this story, Gene, I understand you two even met in an Oklahoma-Texas game.
That's right. About 10 years ago, a mutual friend invited us, and we found out opposite through a try.
Any way to keep peace in the family this weekend?
I don't know. She stole my Texas shirt, beat Texas shirt today, and so it's going to be a long day.
All right. Good luck to you both.
Thank you.
Tim, back up to you.
All right, Becky. Incompleted pass on first down. Stafford was trying to get out to Charles Hunter, who was open underneath the zone, but the ball was thrown before the break and was not thrown well.
Tim, one thing Texas offensive coordinator Dwayne Painter said is that we have to give Stafford time. So far, he's had the time. He's just been off the mark.
Kevin Nelson comes into the ball game for Texas. It is 2nd and 10. Hunter now jumps up out of the eye. Stafford gets out close to the 25-yard line. Darrell Reed, the left end for Oklahoma, made the tackle. It'll bring up 3rd down and long.
Just your basic quarterback draw, and Darrell Reed doing what he's supposed to do. Reed first and make sure the quarterback isn't going anywhere. Stafford wasn't going anywhere with Reed on the stop.
3rd and 5. They line up in a split pro set, one-back formation. Eric Metcalf is into the ball game for Texas, and he goes in motion. Stafford with time across the middle, picked off. Intercepted by David Vickers, and Vickers carrying tackles down to the 15-yard line.
Brett Stafford experiencing some first quarter jitters here. The intended pass receiver. Watch number 34, Darren Norris, out of the backfield. This was just a little delay action on the part of Norris. The ball thrown too high, tipped up in the air, and there's the interception. An easy pick for David Vickers.
The old tip drill for Vickers, and it's outstanding field position once again for Oklahoma. 1st and 10, the ball on the 15. Lydell Carr picks up 2.
Tim, I'm sure when Fred Akers was talking to his team before this game and all week long, he made a point of saying, listen, the only way we can stay in this contest, no turnovers, don't give them good field position. And so far, that is exactly what has happened in this first quarter and why Oklahoma is threatening once again.
9 minutes and 15 seconds remain in the first quarter of play at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. 2nd and 9, the pitch outside. This is Patrick Collins. Touchdown, Oklahoma. Same story, just told a different way.
Once again, almost an identical play, similar to Oklahoma's first touchdown. Watch Ulrich, he's got Holloway, but nobody's got the pitch man. Patrick Collins, another waltz into the end zone. They've got to make some kind of adjustments in a hurry.
Patrick Collins, 2 carries, 23 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And a lot of folks haven't even gotten to their seats yet. Tim Lasher. He's good. So Oklahoma jumps on the board quickly with 2 touchdowns with authority, and it's 14-0 Sooners. The year was 1984. Texas trailed Oklahoma by 3 in the rain with little time remaining. Quarterback Todd Dodge goes to the corner for the win, but Oklahoma apparently intercepts. The interception was not allowed. The official said Keith Stanberry made the catch out of bounds, allowing Texas to kick a tying field goal. Replay showed he was inbounds. However, the score remains unchanged. 15-15 tie. No question about the interception for Oklahoma this year that set up the touchdown that was just scored by Patrick Collins. And that means Oklahoma has now intercepted a pass in 9 of the last 10 games. So the Sooner defense still has not allowed a point in the first period this year. Collins, 2 carries, 23 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Todd Thompson will kick off. There are the 2 deep backs. Kevin Nelson, number 32, and Laren Brown, 84. Thompson is number 91. His first 2 kicks have gone the distance into the end zone and have not been returned. This one goes to the back of the end zone. Kevin Nelson just drops it in frustration at the back line, and it will not be returned as well.
Needless to say, Timmy, as you take a look at the 2 Sooner scoring drives, quite easy, and again, identical touchdown plays. The second one, Collins, an easy 14-yard jaunt into the end zone. Defensively, Paul Jett, their defensive coordinator for the Longhorns, talking to his team on the sidelines, trying to figure out how to defense that bone. Offensively, Brad Stafford's really got to get it going this series, or Texas, needless to say, is in trouble.
Darren Norris comes into the ball game along with Eric Metcalf. 1st and 10, the ball on the 20. 9 minutes remain in the first period. Stafford to throw. Metcalf. A gain of 8. They'll bring up 2nd and short for Texas. Troy Johnson knocks Eric Metcalf out of bounds. He is dangerous. He had 51 yards on the ground last week against Rice, running the ball. Another 55 catching the ball. Big day for Eric Metcalf. He is just an 18-year-old sophomore.
Something we said at the top of the show, Metcalf, they wanted to isolate him against Oklahoma linebackers, get him into mismatched situations. That time, Metcalf against number 80, Troy Johnson, no contest.
2nd and short, the give inside. This is Norris. He'll be close to the first down. I think he's got it. He does. So Texas has its first down of the ball game. Stays into the ball game. Everett Gray comes in for Texas. Ball on the 31. Gay in motion. The fake to Metcalf. A lot of pressure on Stafford. Now throws. And it's complete to Everett Gay, the flanker. Another first down for the Longhorns.
Give credit to two players on this play. First, Brett Stafford for a nice job of hanging in there. As you watch the ISO of Everett Gay, he's got to get loose here. What you can't see is a great block by number 61, Paul Jeton. But Gay does a nice job of coming back for the ball. He sensed that Stafford was in trouble and made the reception through Texas.
Jeton is 280 pounds. He was blocking on Darrell Reed, who's 225. A mismatch. First and 10. The ball on the 43 for Texas. Everybody jumps. And it'll probably be 5 yards against Texas.
Dead ball, illegal procedure on the white, still first down.
So they'll move the Longhorns back 5. It'll be first and 15, and this is something that Freddie Akers said could not happen. They cannot kill themselves with mistakes, and yet they're doing it.
Already one interception. That penalty, an aborted first drive that gave Oklahoma great field position, as you mentioned, Tim. Put Stafford in a tough position.
Stafford, quarterback draw on first and 15, gets across the 40, back near the original line of scrimmage. Troy Johnson made the tackle for Oklahoma, the big right end. He's 6'2", 230 pounds from Houston, Texas. It'll bring up second and 11.
Initially, that play looked like it was going to gain a whole lot more yardage. Stafford's very quick, but Oklahoma's defense is so quick they reacted well to shut it down to just 3 or 4 yards.
Johnson comes to the bottom of the screen. Everybody else is tight with Gay in motion at second and 11. Stafford under pressure from Reed and throws it out of bounds. Darrell Reed, 4.7 speed, and he was right on the heels of Stafford. A tradition, the gigantic State Fair.
Texas State Fair, what a scene in our hotel lobby last night. And there must have been about 2,000 people. Looked like a cross between spring break and Mardi Gras.
I'll guarantee you there wasn't a hotel suite to be had in the city of Dallas. They were loud. Third and 11. And the pass is caught by Everett Gay. Marvelous catch over on the far boundary. Knocked out of bounds by David Vickers, but not until he got up near midfield.
Tight end Tim McCray. Again, Stafford with a lot of time to throw, and that's what's key here. Good job by Texas's interior offensive lineman. Good concentration on the part of Tim McCray, the 6'2 sophomore. And he put it away, but not good enough for the first down. Tried to stretch it out there at the last second.
So Alex Waits comes on to kick it away for the Longhorns. High spiraling punt this time. And it hits and goes in. So they'll bring it out to the 20, and that's about as far back as Oklahoma's been all day. They've had outstanding field position. This time they start at the 20.
See your hope that here in New York we'll be able to keep up with all of Miami's touchdowns against West Virginia today. There have been only 3 so far in the first quarter. It is 21-zip there, and the Hurricanes look indomitable. Meanwhile, Joe Kuharich was the last Notre Dame coach to have an Irish team open at 1-4. That was in 1962. But Lou Holtz's team is now 1-4 as Pittsburgh got a field goal from Jeff Van Horn with 1:25 left. This is another day when you don't want to be Notre Dame kicker John Carney. He missed from 38 yards with 23 seconds left as Pittsburgh beats Notre Dame 10-9. Now back to Tim Brandt in Dallas.
Jim, Mike Gottfried has him playing in Pitt. Don't forget, the Panthers still play Miami. Mike Gottfried will have him ready for that game, I guarantee you. First down and 10, ball on the 20. Holloway gives up the middle to Leon Perry. And Perry picks up 10. I was just about to say that field position by Texas, which took them up near midfield, and then the punt was almost as good as a score, because for the first time they had Oklahoma backed up to its own 20.
It takes a little pressure off the defense to see what they can do, but once again, Wishbone is eating them up, Tim.
It'll be 2nd and 1. They did not give Perry the first. The give again is the fullback. Brian Espinosa comes up and makes the tackle, and again the stop is near the first down marker, but this time he has it. First down, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is the top-rated running team in the country, averaging 349 yards a game. That's impressive. Tillman, plenty of room to the 40, midfield to the 45, and finally knocked out of bounds by Tony Griffin, the free safety. Got the linebackers in trouble right off the bat.
That's a play you don't expect. Now, we talked about middle linebacker Mike Hager. He's bothered by that bad ankle. He went in there on a blitz, sort of a blitz to force the play, completely taken out of the picture. This from another angle. Watch number 60. Hager takes himself out of the play. Good job by the offensive lineman for the Sooners, and Spencer Tillman on his way using the 4M to gain some extra yardage. Looks like a face mask there, Tim.
See the reverse pivot and the misdirection, though, had him going to the right side. The play was a counter back to the opposite side. Again on first down, Holloway has the corner. Looks for a block, cuts it back, and he's to the 28-yard line. Jamel Holloway. Stephen Braggs and Britt Hager came back to make the tackle, but not until it was another Oklahoma first down, and again the Sooners are driving.
Perfect example of why Barry Switzer loves Jamel. He's got those quick feet. He makes things happen. Even when you do have the defense, or the wishbone defense right, you're left with one-on-one situations. Then it becomes a matter of their athletes being better than your athletes. In this case, Oklahoma's has the edge.
Again, a misdirection play out of the bone on 1st and 10. It'll be a gain of 2. Patrick Collins, the ball carrier. Oklahoma has rushed for 121 yards already. Texas has but 10. Spencer Tillman has 54 of those in 3 carries, and Tillman has 2 touchdowns, or Patrick Collins rather has 2 touchdowns. 5 minutes and 35 seconds remain in the first quarter. It's been all Oklahoma. Holloway options the end. This is Tillman, and Tillman's inside the 25 to the 24-yard line. Senegal comes up out of the strong safety spot and takes him down. One of the things you have to do, Mike, defensively against the wishbone is right off the bat, right from the get-go, come up and get in the quarterback's face. You have to hit him. You have to keep hitting him until he starts thinking about getting hit again. So he's thinking about you and putting his head on the swivel rather than thinking about his options and reading defense. 3rd and 6. The give inside to Leon Perry, and Perry fights his way down inside the 20. There is a flag. Holding against Oklahoma, so they'll move him back. Michigan against Michigan State, 13-3. Jim Harbaugh is about as good as they come, the quarterback in Michigan. Look at Ohio State and Indiana. Indiana's unbeaten.
Ranked 19th in the country, too.
We got holding on the offense. Still 3rd down.
So it will be 3rd down and 16 for the Sooners. The ball resting just shy of the 35 on about the 34.5-yard line. Spencer Tillman is out of the ball game. Derek Shepard is in. Obvious passing down for Oklahoma. And they go underneath to Derek Shepard, and Shepard is down near the first down marker. And he'll be just inches shy of an Oklahoma first down.
Watch the Longhorns defensive formation, number 63 right there, has a chance to get Holloway, but Holloway again with those quick feet. He just waits for Derek Shepard to come free across the middle, and Shepard picks up the first down. Or short of the first down. That was Lee Brockman, number 63, on the blitz. If you're going to blitz, make sure it counts.
Two tight ends, everybody in on the wishbone. It's 4th and 1. Oklahoma has loaded the wagons. Holloway over the top, first down. You look at Jamel Holloway, and he just has those instincts, the feeling like Doug Flutie had. He can feel the pressure coming from behind. He knows how to get out of it. He's got those quick feet, the elusive ability, the evasive ability,
great peripheral vision.
And just a sophomore, how good can he be? 1st and 10, 3:43 remain, first period. Straight ahead to Leon Perry. This is perhaps the fastest Texas team that Fred Akers has had in his tenure in Austin. But right now, with all the injuries, the Longhorns lack depth.
Yeah, it's almost a shame this game isn't a track meet, because Texans might win. They've got Eric Metcalf, the NCAA champion in the long jump at 27 feet plus. We'll talk about a few more of the players in a couple of seconds.
Tillman got tied up with the pile up there, and Blake Bronner grabbed his ankle and finally pulled him down. So it'll bring up 3rd down and about 7. Oklahoma is balanced. Tillman has 5 carries. Carr has 5 carries. Perry 3 carries. Holloway 3 carries. Collins 3 carries. Everybody gets involved in the Sooner offense. 3rd and 5 from the 13-yard line. Holloway. Boy, and Holloway is belted. Lee Brockman and Terry Steelhammer, who's 260 pounds, really lambasted Holloway on that play. And keep in mind, Holloway is just returning from an injured shoulder.
Well, that's one of the ways to stop the wishbone, as you mentioned earlier, Tim. Pound the quarterback as many times, sometimes even if he doesn't have the ball. That's what Miami did 2 weeks ago. You hate going back to that game, but that's how the Canes beat the Sooners, knocked them out of the ball game with a bruised shoulder.
Tim Lasher on to attempt the field goal. It is a 28-yard attempt for Lasher. He is 2 for 3 on the season. This one is up. It's long enough, and it's good. And Tim Lasher now becomes the all-time Oklahoma kick scorer. 17-0 Sooners.
Steelers, a win here could get them back in the division race. But Cincinnati's atop the AFC Central and plans to stay there. It's ABC's Monday Night Football.
The Texas alumni is restless. Last year, Texas suffered the most lopsided losses to SMU and Texas A&M in the history of those rivalries. 4 Longhorn assistants lost their jobs. Akers almost did, and he is on the line right now, trailing 17-0 to the Sooners of Oklahoma. And that does not sit well in the state of Texas. Todd Thompson to kick off. The deep men, Kevin Nelson 32, Laren Brown 84, and they have yet to field a kick and return it here today. Thompson has been sailing them almost out of the Cotton Bowl. False start. I didn't know there was much of a wind blowing.
Can't
blew the
tell
ball
from
off the
up here.
tee. Oh, you look at the flags
Flags out there.
They're straight out. So they'll tee it up, get set, and do it again. Well, this time they'll do it the old-fashioned way and have a holder. Hell, Oklahoma came out from the get-go and started putting points on the board. Hasn't been fancy, but it has been authoritative. Thompson's kick this time goes deep, and it's dropped. Kevin Nelson can't field it, so once again, it'll be down. Touchback. They'll bring it back to the 20. Good good ball game this afternoon in the National League. Tonight, another one coming up for you. Game 4, the American League Championship Series. Boston Red Sox against the California Angels, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Central. Roger Clemens will be back on the hill for the Red Sox. California leading that best of 7, 2-1. What a game this afternoon. Len Dykstra with a 2-run homer in the bottom of the last to win that ball game and take the lead in that series. A lot of problems right now for Texas. Charles Hunter, Darren Norris into the ball game. This comes out to Norris on the flanker screen. Kevin Nelson, rather, correction. And Nelson takes it up to the 24-yard line. We've got 1:35 remaining. First quarter of play. The Cotton Bowl between Oklahoma and Texas, with the Sooners leading 17-0.
Talked about the Texas offense, and maybe it hasn't been the most imaginative in past years, but if you've watched this game, and it certainly doesn't show in terms of points, but they've had a lot of different offensive formations. Now hopefully on this drive it'll pay off.
Eric Metcalf on 2nd and 7, can't field it. Now, was the ball thrown backwards? No, incomplete. Boy, was that close. That is a dangerous pass, and young Eric Metcalf better learn to get on it. Always taught when that ball's thrown like that, there's a possibility it could be thrown backwards, which is a lateral. Get on it as soon as you see it.
Talking to Eric yesterday, it was interesting to see the amazing likeness to his father, Terry, the great NFL star, of course, for the St. Louis Cardinals and the Washington Redskins.
Very nice young man, isn't he? I watched him play at O'Connell High School in Arlington, Virginia. 3rd down and 7. Ball on the 23 for Texas. Stafford sees something he doesn't like, and he calls timeout. I could look across that line of scrimmage and see something I don't like, too.
Well, he had number 44, All-American, as you see Jamel Holloway getting his pads adjusted.
And we told you that he did hurt his shoulder against Miami. He did not play last week, and he has what they call a donut on that injury right now. In other words, it's a thick foam rubber pad with a hole in it to protect that area.
Taking a few snaps from center. Even that can hurt sometimes, too.
That last series, he took a pretty good lick.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay.
Greg Johnson, who's 200, or from Thomas Aldridge, and Terry Steelhammer, who's 260 pounds.
One of the reasons why Stafford called timeout, Bosworth was faking blitz, staring him right in the face. That has intimidated many a quarterback.
Knowing Brian Bosworth, he was probably saying something, too.
Don't like Texas too much.
Well, he doesn't hide that fact. He was born in Oklahoma, of course, but he was raised in Dallas. He says he doesn't like Texas, he doesn't like his coaching staff, and he doesn't like the colors of the Longhorns. 3rd and 7. Ball on the 23. Bosworth fakes the blitz. Man coverage. Now Stafford in a whole lot of trouble, and he goes down. Troy Johnson came through unscathed and made the tackle. Richard Reed put a lot of pressure on the other side. Well, Oklahoma fake blitz, then dropped back into what looked like a man coverage on one side and zone on the other. A little bit fancy for the Sooners. And it'll bring up 4th and 10 with 40 seconds left, and Texas will have to kick it away once again. So Alex Waits comes into the ball game, and he may get leg weary today. Anthony Stafford, Patrick Collins, and Derek Shepard are deep for Oklahoma. High spiraling punt. And Collins will let it go, and it gets a Texas bounce, and it'll be down on the 25-yard line. So, pretty good punt for Waits, 55 yards. And with 12 seconds left in the first quarter, Oklahoma will have the ball 1st and 10 on the 25. Right now, let's go down to Becky Dixon.
All right, thank you very much, Tim. With me is Foster Bosworth. As you might guess, he is number 44, Brian Bosworth's father. And Mr. Bosworth, during the Miami-Oklahoma game, they asked Vinny Testaverde's father, and he said he felt that Vinny was made for the Heisman Trophy. Do you feel that way about Brian?
No, I don't think anybody's made for the trophy. I think you have to work for it. And Brian has certainly done an awful lot to improve his performance and to display a good football player.
Earlier we talked about the two sides of Brian Bosworth. You've known him for 21 years. Who is the real Bosworth?
Brian is a soft kid. He likes kids. He's a normal kid. And the media portrays him as some kind of a clown, and he's not.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bosworth. Tim, back up to you.
Very nicely done, Becky. The real Brian Bosworth as the first quarter comes to an end, and Texas in command, 17-0. You are looking at a tradition. That is Big Tex. And he is big. He has a 40-foot waist. That's about what mine's getting to be.
Texas could use him on defense.
2nd and 6. We're just underway. Second quarter. Best penetration of the day for the Texas defense. And this time, folks, they ran to the football. Blake Brawner got there first. And then a host of other Longhorn defenders followed quickly.
Well, as you might expect, no surprises as you take a look at the first quarter statistics. Total dominance on the part of Oklahoma. And that vaunted Air Texas passing attack, just 7 yards for Brett Stafford.
See a Big Tex. Boy, this has been some experience coming to this rivalry. As we drove into the parking lot today by the State Fair, a big bull got loose. Busted through the fence and almost got our car. 3rd down, 6 to go. Holloway in a whole lot of trouble, and he goes down. Blake Brawner was the man who got there first, and then the rest of the defense followed. So maybe Texas will get fired up now. Trailing 17-0, just underway, second period.
Last two series, Tim, encouraging for Texas defense. Containment's been pretty good. Holloway hasn't gotten loose. Perry and Carr haven't done much from the fullback slot, so good news for the Longhorns.
Well, I'll tell you, half a plan defense is wanting to. That time they appeared to be more aggressive than they were in the first quarter. Mike Winchester does not get off a very good punt. It's off the side of his foot. And it is fair caught by Eric Metcalf. So Texas also now will have good field position offensively after that 37-yard punt.
Notched their first victory in Houston since 1952 today, so the Aggies remain unbeaten in the Southwest Conference. And though that race is going to be awfully hard to prognosticate with the number of unbeaten teams left in the conference, you may keep in mind that Texas A&M plays Arkansas in Little Rock on November 15. Of course, Baylor and some other schools may have something to say about whether that game decides the Southwest Conference. Now let's go back to Dallas.
A&M plays Baylor next week. Grant Teff will want to get after them in a hurry, Jim. 1st and 10, the ball on the 41. Texas' first start beyond its own 20. This is Charles Hunter around the right side, has some running room and picks up about 6 yards. So Texas now seemingly playing with more intensity than it did in the first quarter.
That time the Horns ran out of the split back formation. Hunter a basic power sweep with Bruce Blackmar, number 69, leading the way and throwing a nice block.
You know, we've talked about offensive coordinator Dwayne Painter, who is new to Texas. He is an imaginative, innovative coach. He's trying to jazz things up offensively.
Split backs last time, now the I formation.
2nd and 4, ball on the 47. Stafford, quarterback draw. Tries to get outside and gets up to midfield, but he'll be short of the first down.
You want to see why number 44, Brian Bosworth, an All-American linebacker, watch his feet. This is something coaches teach you. Maybe you can't teach it sometimes. This quick movement with the feet, sliding back and forth, in and out. You watch Stafford's every move and made the tackle.
Hard to believe a man that big can move that fast.
4.540.
One thing he doesn't do is he doesn't make any false steps. He goes directly to that ball and gets there as fast as he can. In 1958, the NCAA Rules Committee adopted the two-point conversion. This was the first Texas touchdown against Oklahoma. But later, the two-point conversion made the difference in the ball game. Texas coach Darrell Royal voted against the rule, but used it to beat Oklahoma. Right now, the Longhorns have their hands full, trailing Oklahoma 17-0. We've got 12:34 remaining in the second quarter at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Tim Brand and Mike Adamley along with you. It is 3rd down and 1 for Texas. Split backs. Stafford is the quarterback. Everett Gay in motion. The give is to Charles Hunter, and he will not get the first down. Sonny Brown came out of his safety spot, came up quickly and made the hit.
Terrific pursuit on the part of the Sooners. You're going to run that power sweep. You got to make sure you knock some people down. I don't think any red jersey was on the carpet. Watch Bosworth now. Fred Akers on his shoes, and he's delivering a message to Fred. Watch this movement. Takes on one blocker, slips another. He's right there, along with just about everybody else. Number 80, Troy Johnson as well.
Bosworth is a redshirt junior who will graduate with his class in May and is undecided about returning to Oklahoma next fall. And I guess other than the price of oil, that's the biggest concern in Oklahoma right now.
Alex Waits, the left-footed Texas punter, also barefooted punter, following in the, pardon the pun, footsteps of John Telchik, also barefooted.
Texas takes a timeout, and that is the last timeout for the Longhorns in this half. And I can't understand that. Why would they take a timeout there, Mike?
I'm not quite sure, unless they weren't familiar with the perhaps Oklahoma had a punt rush on. The punter's essentially the quarterback and has the right to call that.
Well, that's the last timeout of the half. We've got 11:44 remaining in the half. And now is there some confusion on the field? Well, they're trying to get the cheerleaders off. Patrick Collins is deep for Oklahoma. There's your punter, Alex Waits for Texas. High kick, tail wagger, and it goes out of bounds at the 12-yard line. So now Texas has Oklahoma backed up somewhat, and a 38-yard punt for Waits. I'm still not sure if that was a timeout. I think they may have been trying to draw him off sides to get that 1 yard. No, it was a timeout. Auburn continues to roll down in the Southeast Conference, 31-9 over Vanderbilt today. Purdue trails by a touchdown. Here it is 1st and 10. The ball on the 12 for Oklahoma. And the give is straight ahead. Lydell Carr. Lydell Carr is the key to the wishbone attack. Carr is a bruising runner whose ability to stay healthy has been, I think, an important factor in the Sooners' success.
Spencer Tillman, you know, Oklahoma's got so many great backs, Tim. They're almost all interchangeable. And you talk about flexibility being an asset for an athlete. Tillman touching the back of his neck with his right foot.
He has been plagued with injuries, though, during the major portion of his Oklahoma career. This is Anthony Stafford, big gainer, first down, move the chains.
You take Tillman out, and Anthony Stafford, number 25, his replacement, almost just as good, just as quick. Watch the bone in action. Here it is. This time the give to Stafford. Great up front blocking. There's not much you can do about that. He's got that seam. He's got that lane, that cushion, that bubble they like to call it, Tim.
He has
instant offense.
He has startling speed and acceleration. 4.4 speed in the 40. 1st and 10. The ball on the 29. This is Stafford. No, it's not. Holloway has it. The pass to the tight end. Keith Jackson is incomplete. Tony Griffin was the defender, and Holloway had me too.
I tell you, they call the wishbone the triple option. Actually, it's the quadruple option when you got a tight end of the caliber of Keith Jackson. That's the 4th option that they can do. They fake the cross, but there's Holloway looking for it. This play has been successful many times. Jackson almost makes a remarkable one-handed grab.
I can hear my old coach now, Jerry Claiborne, yelling at me for going with the first fake. Wayne Duncombe comes into the ball game at linebacker for Texas. 2nd and 10. Holloway. The pitch back is to Earl Johnson, and Johnson takes it up to the 35-yard line. Texas defense is being more aggressive. The outside contained people are coming up. They're maintaining their outside leverage. They're trying to string things out and wait for pursuit. And now the pursuit is coming. They're running to the football.
They stress one thing. Stay with your responsibility. If you're responsible for the pitch man, tackle the pitch man. If you're responsible for the quarterback, tackle the quarterback. Up in Nebraska, we talked about this yesterday. Tom Osborne practiced against the wishbone by not using the football. Just have them tackling their assignments, and it works sometimes.
3rd down and 4. breaks the tackle. Gets out across the 42-yard line. First down. Sooners.
Having a good wishbone offense is you got to have a tremendously quick and tricky quarterback, a guy who possesses a magician's ability, that sleight of hand, that prestidigitation. He doesn't know, Jamel, what he's going to do until the defense reacts. They close down on the fullback, he'll keep it himself. That time he moved away from Lee Brockman, number 63, used the form, a tremendous athlete, Jamel Holloway.
Hard to believe that Holloway started only 11 games at Oklahoma. Little reverse, Keith Jackson. This is the game breaker against Nebraska last year. Same play, reverse to Keith Jackson. Eric Jeffries knocked him out of bounds. Now Jackson is 6'3", 240 pounds, and he can run like a tailback.
Barry Switzer thinks that he may be the best athlete on a team that's got a whole slew of great athletes. Jackson, quite frankly, isn't happy at Oklahoma. He enjoys his teammates, but he doesn't enjoy his role. He's a tight end who's going to be a super pro. His best days will probably be as a pro, but they don't throw the ball that often, so Keith doesn't get that much action.
He was a holy terror against Nebraska last year. Had a reverse for a touchdown, caught a touchdown pass. 1st and 10. Straight ahead. Lydell Carr, big gainer into Texas territory. He'll pick up 8. You know, the beauty of that wishbone attack is that every play starts the same way. You have the 3 backs, the 1 split, the tight end. That means you have man coverage on the outside guy, and no matter which way he goes, you still have the same play. The fullback dives, then you've got the pitch. You're reading all the way.
And it means the defense can't get any pre-snap reads.
And what they do is going to be wrong, because when they do commit themselves, he reads that and goes to the next option. We've got 8 minutes, 59 seconds remaining in the half. 2nd and 1. Number 85 looked like he jumped across. We'll wait and see if it was on Bronner or Cesar Rennie. Looks like Bronner. As you look at Akers, and he is obviously concerned, it is against the Longhorns. Freddie Akers says he has never lived or coached in fear of losing his job. Said he doesn't intend to. And he doesn't want to apologize.
Offsides on the defense. First down.
Says he doesn't want to or have to apologize for anything that he's done at the University of Texas.
Let's say now, winning percentage, 76% over the last 2 years.
Lydell Carr on 1st down picks up 3.
Wishbone teases you a little bit too. Just when they think defense thinks it's got things closed up pretty well, bottle up, Jamel runs that crossbuck or the reverse to Jackson or the quick slant into Jackson.
It'll also lull you to sleep because they don't throw that much. The wideout is covered man-to-man most times, and when you least expect it, they'll pop it long. Well, they only give him 2 on the carry. It'll be 2nd and 8. Nice move by Holloway, cuts it up inside down to the 26-yard line.
Very typical Oklahoma Sooner drive up and down the field. 10 plays, 11 plays, 12 plays, 5 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards, 2 yards. Next thing you know, they're in the end zone.
Oklahoma had trouble, put the ball on the ground, a couple of turnovers, poor field position against Miami, and it cost them. And that's one of the negatives of this offensive scheme, is that it is not a catch-up offense. If you fall behind, you can't catch up quickly. Especially against a strong-arm quarterback like Testaverde and the passing abilities of Jimmy Johnson's Miami offense.
What's really amazing about that Oklahoma team, Tim, it bothered them probably for about 24, 48 hours. There was not any real emotional deflation after that Miami game. They bounced back last week, Kansas State, and like you said at the top of the show, they're not out of the picture for the national championship.
Texas has stopped Oklahoma on 3rd down. It is 4th and 1. The ball on the 21. 2 tight ends. Oklahoma is going for it. They're 1-1 on 4th down conversions today. Holloway has the 1st down and more to the 10, the 5. Touchdown Sooners.
by the master of prestidigitation, the magic wishbone man, Jamel Holloway. Watch him, number 45, Lydell Carr. He holds it as long as he can. Carr draws 2 tacklers. Probably somebody missed an assignment because Jamel was loose right there. As we talked about the discipline of defensing against the wishbone, Texas fell prey to it there and fell prey to the talents of Jamel Holloway.
Tim Lasher's extra point attempt is up. It's long enough, and it's good. So Oklahoma extends its lead to 24-0, an 88-yard drive.
One of the biggest surprises of last Saturday was that Miami only beat Northern Illinois 34-0. West Virginia is paying for that right now. It's midway through the second quarter in Morgantown. Miami up 35-0. Testaverde has 2 touchdown passes to Mike Irvin. Miami is at Cincinnati next week. That's the team that threatened Penn State today. Then an open date before they play Florida State in the Orange Bowl. Of course, the heavy likelihood is that the Hurricanes go 11-0 in the regular season. Back now to Dallas.
Here it is 24-0, Oklahoma over Texas. Boy, how times have changed and quickly. Texas played for the national championship just 3 years ago on New Year's Day and lost by a point to Georgia. Right now they're struggling, and their coach Fred Akers fighting for his life. High kick. It'll be taken by Kevin Nelson at the 20. Almost slips through, but he is lassoed down at the 22-yard line, and that's where the offense will start. David Vickers is the man that brought him down. We've got 6 minutes and 44 seconds remaining in the first half. Here's Becky.
Tim, just to show you how closely the battle on, I found an Oklahoma cheerleader from Texas and a Texas cheerleader from Oklahoma, Kyle Jensen and Dean Carter. What do your friends in Houston say about you being a cheerleader for Oklahoma?
A lot of them just are upset with me. They don't know why I went up there, but I love it.
Why did you?
I went up there because of family reasons. It goes back in my family, my brother and I, and my sister.
Now, you were born in Tulsa. What do your friends say about that?
Well, it's more of that I'm not a true Texan. I guess that's the most razzing I get. I get the most razzing from my grandfather who went to OU, and I get a lot of razzing from him.
All right, good luck to you both. Tim?
Stafford on first down goes for the screen to Eric Metcalf, and it was overthrown, incomplete. But I've got to believe, Mike, if Texas is going to mount a drive, they've got to go to Eric Metcalf more often. He's the big play guy, and right now they badly need a big play.
Well, Dwayne Painter is a realist. He knew that the Texas team could not run it down Oklahoma's throat. He said, to win tomorrow, to have any chance to win tomorrow, we have to have a big play. So far, their longest play from scrimmage, only 11 yards. Oklahoma has outrushed the Longhorns 217-16.
Twin receivers to the bottom of the screen. 2nd and 10, ball on the 22. Stafford rolls out on the waggle, throws deep, has a man, and it's complete. At the Oklahoma 49, Gabrielle Johnson makes the catch. Ricky Dixon knocks him out of bounds.
Well, just as we called it. We need a big play. We get a big play. Out of the I formation, Brian Bosworth blitzing. He is picked up. Throwing on the run, which Stafford does very well. He slips behind the secondary and makes the reception. Longest gain of the day.
They went to the blitz, went to man coverage. They beat the man coverage on the left wide out angle. First time for the Texas Longhorns to be in Oklahoma territory. First down again, in trouble. Throws back across the grain to Metcalf and incomplete, and he was wide open. Oh my, he was wide open. He rolled to the right and threw back, and Eric Metcalf even had a blocker in front of him, and not a Sooner in sight.
So we take a look at number 10, Brett Stafford. He was given total control this year. Usually there's a quarterback controversy down here in Texas. But Fred Akers and Dwayne Painter said this is going to be our man. So far, he hasn't looked too good this afternoon. Maybe it'll come.
2nd and 10 again. He's pressured. And he's in a whole lot of trouble and throws incomplete. Darrell Reed, number 40, was coming after Stafford. And he was coming in a hurry. Stafford was off balance and running to get out of bounds and just throw it away. In all fairness, Dwayne Painter told us yesterday, and he is a new coach that just came from Georgia Tech this season. And his offense is fairly complicated. He said at Georgia Tech they used over 200 formations, and he only has maybe 60% of the offense in right now at Texas.
It's almost a little bit like a foreign language. There's 700 new words the Longhorns offensive players had to digest.
Everything has changed from the huddle to the snap. 3rd and 10, ball on the 49. We've got 6 minutes and 17 seconds remaining in the first half. Play action. Stafford throws. It's complete. Norris is hit almost immediately. And then dragged back. The hit was by David Vickers. And who dragged him back? The Boz? Well, he admittedly, self-admittedly, says he is perhaps the most liked and most hated football player in the country. But he says he loves the attention.
Bosworth goes sideline to sideline. Great speed, 4.5. Vickers with the big hit on Darren Norris there. And watch the Boz. He puts a little mustard on this final tackle, drags Darren back a few yards.
That'll get your attention.
Here we go, Jimmy.
Look at this. This is Jeff Ward.
61 yards.
Jeff Ward attempting a 61-yard field goal, and it'll be just shy. Jeff Ward has a very strong leg. His longest field goal had been 57 yards. This one was 61, and he was short. With 5 minutes and 18 seconds remaining in the half at the Cotton Bowl, Oklahoma leads 24-0, and Oklahoma has now changed quarterbacks. Eric Mitchell, a 6'1", 200-pound sophomore from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, will be doing the quarterbacking for the Sooners.
Let me tell you,
played extremely well last week against Kansas State, Mike. He got to start with Holloway injured, ran 12 times for 126 yards.
They lose absolutely nothing with Mitchell at quarterback.
Maybe a little bit of leadership. Mitchell is averaging over 7 yards a carry this year, one of the most highly sought, actively recruited high school players in the country 2 years ago. And he is the prototype of a wishbone quarterback, extremely quick with a strong arm. He has the size to run over folks and the speed to run away from them, but I'm not quite sure that he has the system down as well as Holloway, and he's not as good a leader because of that right now. It'll be 2nd and 6, ball on the 48. Spencer Tillman for a very tough 3 yards. He is a parade All-American quarterback in high school.
For this, excuse me, Tim.
Sorry, go ahead.
Before the season started, there was a lot of mention that perhaps 2 sophomores, both with great talent, could not coexist. So far they have. And they're good friends on and off the field as well.
Although they aren't shy to talk about the rivalry between the two.
They make each other better.
3rd and 4. Ball at midfield, Mitchell. To the 40, to the 30. Drops the football, it's loose. Flag on the football, who got it? Oklahoma has it.
Lydell Carr, number 45, the man on top of the ball. Eric Mitchell's fumble, but there is a flag. And it's against Oklahoma. But that'll give you some indication of the talent of the quarterback we've just talked to you about. Well, we know how nifty Jamel Holloway is. Now here's your chance to watch number 1, Eric Mitchell. Watch the footwork here. Longhorns have this defensed well, but boop, he slips right out of the grasp there, breaks 3 or 4 more tackles, reminiscent of a run he had against UCLA in the Sooners opener. Well, he went through a hole that wasn't there, but this is part of the problem. He loses the football. He put it on the ground twice last week, too, in the big win against Kansas State. Here's the call.
Ref clipping on the offense. Still 3rd down.
Sam Mappis, the referee, very emphatic in his call. So it'll be 3rd down, 10 yards for the first. The ball on the 44. Mitchell to throw his first pass of the day. He has a man wide open. Oklahoma. '56-yard touchdown. Eric Mitchell to Keith Jackson. Mitchell threw a 58-yard touchdown last week.
Tim, this is the first time all day I believe that the Sooners were not in the wishbone offense. Mitchell has man-to-man coverage. He sees man-to-man coverage. Bragg's working on Keith Jackson. Keith Jackson beats him by a step, actually about 2 steps, and watch him turn it on. This guy is 242 pounds, and he can move. Easy score for the Sooners.
Tim Lasher, the all-time leading kick scorer at Oklahoma, puts it up and through the uprights.
If there's a difference between Holloway and Mitchell, Holloway may be the better leader, Mitchell the better passer. He certainly has a better field of vision because of his height. 6 feet, 1 inch tall, and when you've got a receiver, a target like Jackson, the All-American, it's easy pickings.
He is also strong, 200 pounds, strong arm. Put it out, and Oklahoma has now run away 31-0 over Texas. Oklahoma's only punted once. Oklahoma leads 31-0 over Texas. Todd Thompson on to kick off for Oklahoma. Kevin Nelson, Laren Brown deep to return. Just a stroll in the park. Lay down and rest. Is he hurt or is he just resting?
Oh, he's just resting. He ran up his 24 points. It's time for Eric to do his thing, so he'll just take a seat, lay back, and relax and watch.
We have 3 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the first half. This kick is deep, but it will be returned by Kevin Nelson to the 15. The 20, up to the 30, and knocked out of bounds on the 34-yard line. There should be a flag because he was hit out of bounds and from behind, but there will not be.
You know what? One thing I am surprised at, Tim, is you look at the Sooners' last scoring drive, very quick 3 and 56 yards. 56-yard touchdown reception by Keith Jackson. I'm surprised at the emotional level of Texas. I think initially they came out sky high, but they lost it almost immediately. We haven't seen any of that emotion that has punctuated this rivalry over the years.
Oklahoma will do that to you, especially when they put 31 points on the board in the first half and you have yet to get on. On the 35-yard line, first down, Stafford in trouble, and he'll be sacked. Richard Reed made the penetration. David Vickers came out of a strong safety spot, and they got Stafford for a 4-yard loss.
Take a look at Brett Stafford. Let's go down to the sidelines and Becky Dixon with a sideline report. Becky?
Tim, we saw Jamel Holloway lying down. He is relaxing. He's not hurt. I asked him how he was enjoying his first start as an Oklahoma quarterback. He said he loved it. He wanted to score a touchdown. He was able to do that. But he did say he was pretty surprised that the Sooners were able to score so easily against the Texas Longhorns.
All right, Becky, it's 2nd and 13 from the 32-yard line to give. Well, Stafford holds on to it, and again, it's Richard Reed. 6'4", 255-pound senior out of Fort Worth.
Sooners are taking no prisoners. It's a matter of time before we start seeing other reserves besides just Eric Mitchell.
It'll be 3rd and 13 for Texas. And that's been pretty much the story all afternoon. Hunter and Norris are your backs. The reverse. Stafford goes to throw a block. Whoa, my. That's a block from Steve Urgel. And the ball's loose. Oklahoma has it. But whatever you do and however this ball game turns out, Steve Urgel threw a block that will be remembered for a long, long time. Sonny Brown is the man who recovered the fumble. Laren Brown fumbled the ball.
Taking Darrell Reed, I I'm sure number 10, David Vickers, is going to hear some bells ring. Watch as he makes the pursuit. 79, Ergel. He never saw this one coming. He is laid out cold. Play was set up well, but unfortunately the fumble, another key Texas turnover. So watch the Boston pursuit. Everybody was there.
Oh, I'll tell you what, he'll be looking out of his belly button for a while. Woo. 1st and 10 from the 32. 1 minute, 50 seconds remain in the first half. It has been all Oklahoma to this point. The Sooners scored the first time they had the ball, and every time but one since. And this has been the storyline. Great field position for Oklahoma, although they did have one 88-yard drive. Oklahoma has rushed for 225 yards. Texas has rushed for 13. That'll tell you something. Eric Mitchell, the quarterback, gets back to the original line of scrimmage.
Tell you what, even when he loses yardage, it's exciting.
Coming up at halftime, we'll have a report from Peter Jennings at Iceland and the Prudential halftime report. Well, it has been all Oklahoma, and you can guarantee everybody that they are celebrating in Norman. Here's the campus. Tradition, 3 national championships in the last 13 years.
Had a chance, still have a chance going after that triple-double. Back-to-back national championships on 3 different occasions.
Still very much in the hunt. Although there are several undefeated teams, and of course, as Jim Lampley alluded to, Miami has the easier schedule, and right now looks like it can go through the season unbeaten. It'll be 3rd down, 11 yards to go, the ball on the 33. The lone setback is Leon Perry. Mitchell in trouble, and he goes down for a big loss. Mike January, number 28, came through free on the blitz and took him down. January, the weak side linebacker. And that was a big play because Oklahoma had the ball on the fumble recovery in good field position. So now the Sooners will have to give it back. Todd Thompson. Thompson is on the punt. He has been doing all the long kicking today. It is a high punt, not particularly long. Bounces on the 12, and it'll be downed right there on the 12.5-yard line. Well, we told you how they're celebrating in Norman. Not the same story in Austin, but it's still a lovely campus. 24 seconds remain in the first half here at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Texas has the football, and they'll run the clock out. Eric Metcalf is the ball carrier off tackle. Texas has no timeouts remaining, nor do they want any right now. They want to get back to the locker room and not trip getting there. So that'll be it. That's the end of the first half of the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, with the Sooners of Oklahoma leading the Texas Longhorns 31-0. It has been all Sooners. The Prudential halftime report is coming up after this. And hello again, everybody. Tim Brandt and Mike Adamley back at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas, where Oklahoma leads 31-0 over the Texas Longhorns. And folks, it has been all Oklahoma. They won the toss and elected to kick Texas all over the field, I guess is the way to sum it up. But it has been all Oklahoma. It remains that there has not been a team to score on the Oklahoma defense yet this year in the first quarter. They extended that to the first half in this ball game, and they are averaging 349 yards a game. They are ahead of that pass.
And the wishbone is in rare form, Timmy. They scored early and often. First quarter action here. Jamal Holloway working the bone. Watch him deftly fake down the line. Pitch to Patrick Collins. Just a 9-yard touchdown run and gave the Sooners a 7-0 lead.
Well, they went back to Carr and Tillman, but when it was time to score again, they went back to Collins on this 14-yard run.
Almost identical. And watch number 60, Britt Hager, the middle linebacker for Texas. He gets picked off, and that's why Collins scores again. This time from 14 yards out, it's 14-zip.
2 plays, 23 yards, 2 touchdowns for Patrick Collins. Quite a half for him. And then Jamal Holloway came to the forefront. He had been playing well the first half, and he turns it loose for a 21-yard run here.
Little belly fake to Lydell Carr, and then he'll just turn on the afterburners. Jamel, a great athlete. This one made it, what, 24-0, and his day was done.
So Jamal Holloway takes the rest of the afternoon off, and Eric Mitchell comes in. He, too, is a sophomore. He, too, is extremely talented. He is very quick, strong arm, 200 pounds. And right away, he sees man coverage, reads the defense, and goes deep to his tight end, Keith Jackson.
Who says the Sooners can't pass? Jackson in man-to-man coverage. Mitchell hits him in perfect stride, 56 yards in all, and that's where we stand right now after the extra point. 31-0 in favor of the Sooners.
Keith Jackson, big, strong tight end. You mentioned that he was not happy with his role at Oklahoma, but he has accepted it. The chemistry is great, and that's what makes this Sooner team so outstanding.
Yeah, I think Keith Jackson's best days are ahead of him as a professional football player. He's still got another year at Oklahoma. I think he'll enjoy it. He'll certainly enjoy it. Probably sitting on the bench in the second half, because I think Barry Switzer's going to use a lot of reserves.
You know, each week.
Oklahoma leads Texas 31-0. We are at halftime in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. Tim Brand and Mike Adamle along with you as the Longhorns come back onto the field. And you have to believe that Fred Akers gave his team a good old-fashioned tongue lashing in the locker room because the effort was suspect.
It's supposed to be an emotional game, a great rivalry. OU quickly took the starch out of the Longhorn sails. And I think they are a little bit emotionally flat. I thought they were in the first quarter, even despite the fact that Oklahoma was dominant. Fred Akers was giving a pep talk, talking about his job a little bit, Timmy. We'll talk about that later. As you see the statistics, you don't need to read these too much to realize just how dominant Oklahoma was in the first half. They led in every statistical category, including total yards. Passing yards, 70 right there. That wasn't enough, but only 14 yards on the ground. Dwayne Painter, the offensive coordinator for Texas, said before the game, we've got to run a little bit just to keep these guys honest. That hasn't happened.
Brett Stafford has 88% of the Texas offense this afternoon, which is only 74 yards. 70 yards pass, 4 yards rush.
Barry Switzer sitting on top of the world. He has every reason to be smiling. His team is on top, 31-0. Not too much pressure. The only pressure right now is to get as many kids into the ball game as you can.
He is the nation's winningest coach percentage-wise with 129 wins, 25 losses, 4 ties. That's an impressive winning percentage of 84%. As we've told you, his teams have won 3 national championships in 13 years, 10 Big 8 titles, and he has been successful in 7 of 10 bowl games. Now, see, therein lies the difference. The folks here at Texas in Austin are upset at Freddie Akers, although he has won 76% of his ball games. But in bowl appearances, postseason appearances, he is just 2-7. And over the last 20 games, the last 2 years, he has beaten teams with winning records only 3 times. So Texas has to come out in the second half and prove something. Longhorns used to have a firm grip on the conference title. There's the pressure on that man right there, Fred Akers. But that firm grip has now been relinquished. In the last 4 seasons, 4 different teams have gone to the Cotton Bowl as Southwest Conference champions. We talked to DeLoss Dodds yesterday, and I asked him if there was a possibility, with all the rumors and all the speculation, that Fred Akers could be fired at the end of this day if it was a lopsided win. And he said no, emphatically no. We will maintain our coach and not make a decision until the end of the year. And we got that from DeLoss Dodds, the athletic director, and it will be his decision. Kevin Nelson and Tony Jones are the deep men, along with Eric Metcalf, number 2. Kevin Nelson again has trouble fielding the punt. It goes through the end zone, out of bounds, and it'll come out now as a touchback. They'll line it up on the 20.
So far, Barry Switzer electing to stay with his starting unit. Bosworth and company back on the field defensively for the Sooners. Fred Akers electing to stay with his quarterback, Brett Stafford. He really doesn't have anybody else to go to. The backup, number 8, Donovan Forbes, a wonderfully talented freshman, has yet to take a snap this season, so it's Stafford all the way.
Has not played it down. Trailing by 31 points, it'll be first down and 10 on the 20 for the Longhorns. Stafford to throw, as he'll have to a lot the second half, and it's incomplete. Intended for his tailback, Charles Hunter. The offense will have to be a lot snappier. Mike, I don't understand why, with a lot of zone, they don't go to a quick 3-step drop, release the ball quickly on the high percentage possession type passes.
Painter does have that particular pass in his offense, has elected not to use it so far. Maybe it's not Brett Stafford's best offensive tool.
This is an offense that finished 7th and 6th in the conference the last 2 seasons. It'll be 2nd and 10 from the 20-yard line. And Texas shows the I formation. The give inside to Hunter off tackle. Hunter bangs his way out across the 22, possibly to the 23-yard line, and it'll bring up 3rd down and 7.
Jim, I'm sure you've seen this happen so many times. Sometimes when you've got multiple offense and multiple formations, you try to do too many things. I think that's the case today. They really haven't had a chance to, say, establish the tailback off tackle more than once or twice.
But oftentimes when you have a lot of formations, you have the same basic plays. You don't have that many plays. The formations basically just disguise what you do have, and you can run the same plays out of several different looks. It's 3rd and 7 from the 23. Everybody jumps, and flags fly.
Although I don't think that's the case with Texas today. They've run the reverse. They've had Metcalf up in the slot. They've run the I formation and the power off tackles. Painter trying to find something that works with some kind of success against.
Disregard the flag. No call.
So we will disregard it, pick it up, put it in the back pocket, and we'll start all over again. One thing that has really stuck out to all of us up here in the booth is the fact that Brian Bosworth has no tackles and only 2 assists in the ball game thus far. Obviously, Texas is running away from Brian Bosworth. 3rd down and 7. The ball on the 23. Everett Gay was in motion. They do this time throw underneath. He'll be close to the 1st down, but he may have taken away and lost a yard when he went back to avoid a tackle. It was Gabriel Johnson. He'll be awfully close. 1st down. Texas, they did get it.
Quick little pass. Stafford looking for Gabriel Johnson. Watch Bosworth here. Initially, he misses the tackle, so on this particular incident, it wasn't a case of running away from Boz. It was a case of Boz being faked out a little bit by a much quicker individual, much quicker athlete than Gabriel Johnson.
Just underway in the 2nd half. 13 minutes, 33 seconds remain in the 3rd quarter. 1st down and 10 for Texas. This is Hunter. And again, the Oklahoma defense pinches him inside and closes down quickly.
Hunter, a 6'1", 216-pound sophomore, led the Horns in rushing a year ago with 717 yards. It's probably the most complete back Fred Akers has in the team. Sophomore from Odessa, Texas. One that didn't get away. We talked about their recruiting earlier.
Big old Richard Reed, left tackle for Oklahoma on that defensive unit, came limping out of the ball game. He's a little bit shaken up. On 2nd and 7, another. The quick pass, and Hunter just drops it.
Could have been a big play for Texas. Stafford this time reads the blitz perfectly. You're going to see number 44, Brian Bosworth, trying to find that seam. But watch the job that number 69, Bruce Blackmore, does. He actually picks up 2 guys, knocks Boz out of the play. This is a pass that should have been caught and could have been a big gainer for Texas.
Well, that's what we were talking about. They're going to have to go to the quick short drops, get the quick pass underneath and get it to him in a hurry.
Great job by number 69, Blackmore.
You know, that's the first play this half that Texas has not gone at Bosworth. So things have changed dramatically in that fashion as the 2nd half begins. Stafford to throw. Incomplete. Intended for Tim McRae, but there was outstanding coverage by David Vickers, who was in his hip pocket, rode him across the middle, and then stripped him of the football. So they'll have to punt it away.
Brett Stafford's statistics have not been great this afternoon, we must admit, or in his defense, rather. His Longhorn receivers haven't done a good job of hanging on to the football.
Alex Waits, the barefooted, left-footed kicker, is on to punt to Patrick Collins. And this is a boomer. Collins will fair catch it on the 21. Now there's a flag. The flag is in the area of the fair catch, and they may not have given him 2 steps and room to catch the football. A 45-yard punt.
But watch the acting job by Alex Waits here. It's almost as important as the extension that you get with your leg. No one touched him, but depending on your angle and from where you're watching in the Cotton Bowl this afternoon, Waits looks like he may have drawn a penalty, but he was not touched. Nice dive, though. Greg Louganis would have liked that one.
But do you know, if the referee thinks that he's trying to fake being hit, that's a penalty against him.
give non-contact interference. First down.
Exactly what happened. They did not give him room enough to catch the football when he had his hand up for a fair catch. Non-contact interference. Jamel Holloway comes back into the ball game as quarterback for the Sooners. Lydell Carr, along with Spencer Tillman, are the backs. Patrick Collins, the right halfback. Keith Jackson still the tight end. Derek Shepard is your split end. Lydell Carr, the ball carrier.
You talk about a spreading the wealth kind of offense. Everybody gets into the picture. Passing, Holloway and Mitchell at quarterback. 4 different people carrying the football. Keith Jackson having his 1 reception for the touchdown.
It is 2nd and 6, ball on the 32. Again, to give inside to Lydell Carr, the fullback. Thomas Aldridge makes the tackle.
So many weapons for that Oklahoma offense. By contrast, Texas not being able to do much of anything. As you look at the defensive leaders, Stephen Braggs, the defensive back, had the most with 8, and that means only one thing, that Oklahoma made a lot of forays into the Longhorns secondary.
It'll be 3rd and 4. Ball on the 34. Motion man is Patrick Collins. Fake to Tillman. Jamel Holloway to the 40. Across midfield and runs out of bounds from the 45-yard line. John Hay is the guy that had to run him out of bounds finally. He's the strong safety, but the play fake set it up. He came around on the naked reverse and had already broken containment.
If Mitchell doesn't kill you, Holloway will. This is simply one-on-one. One great athlete beating another athlete right down the sidelines. He faked me out on that one, Tim. Good job by our camera people just being able to pick up Jamel.
We saw Mike January, number 28 for Texas, come out, and he tried to contain him, but didn't break down properly and actually lost his balance as Holloway ran around him. 1st and 10 from the 45. Holloway, the pitch back to Tillman, and Tillman has room on the corner. And he picks up 8 or 9 yards. Lee Brockman, the strong linebacker, came across and pushed him out of bounds, but it's a 9-yard pickup.
Texas defense starting to wear out a little bit.
So are the fans.
And probably the alumni.
Derek Shepard, the split end, comes into the ball game with the play from the sidelines. It'll be 2nd down and 2 for Oklahoma. He's ready to give to Lydell Carr, and a fumble. I thought it was a fumble. It's a helmet that came out of the pileup. Here's Becky.
Behind me right now, Tim, is Bevo number 12. He is the University of Texas current mascot. To give you a little of the history behind the Bevos, the first one came along in 1916, but in 1921 he was served as steak at a gathering with Texas A&M. Now, considering this, it's easy to understand why a number of Bevo 1 successors have been somewhat testy and temperamental. They tell me the only one of these Longhorns that never really caused any trouble was Bevo number 7. Now, to reward him, after 8 years of duty in 1965, they turned Bevo number 7 out into a lush green pasture. So the moral to this story is it's better to be the diner than the dinner, and good behavior does pay off, Tim.
We were on our good behavior today. We had one of those. We thought it was Bevo that chased us halfway across the parking lot this morning.
Notice Bevo 7 didn't have much of a smile on his face.
That was a Longhorn steer this morning, and actually went wild and broke through a fence and came at our car.
Probably took a look at that red tie of mine and got loose from the livestock exhibition here at the Texas State Fair.
It was only one Longhorn, but I'll tell you where I come from, they call that a full-fledged stampede. 2nd and 10 from the 33-yard line. Oklahoma in the wishbone. Holloway has the corner to the 20. It's a foot race to the 10, to the 7-yard line before he's finally knocked out of bounds by Stephen Braggs and Tony Griffin.
The wishbone working to perfection, and Jamel Holloway, the man who's executing it. And the offensive lineman picking off the people. There's a block on number 48, the young freshman from Texas, Dwayne Duncombe. There's really not much Texas can do about this. Superior athlete, superior execution.
He's averaging over 6 yards a carry. And again, he did not play last week against Kansas State. Shoulder still may be a little bit sore. He came out earlier. It's 1st and goal from the 6. Touchdown, Oklahoma, Spencer Tillman. Get out the wide-angle lens, boys. Barry Switzer's about to smile.
Can't say enough about the Sooners' offensive line. They've been blowing Texas 5 yards off the ball in virtually every play. Travis Simpson in center, Anthony Phillips, Mark Hudson, just to name a few. Spencer Tillman walks into the end zone.
Tim Lasher is good with the extra point. It's time to get out the calculators. Oklahoma, commanding lead, almost embarrassing at this point, 38-0 over Texas. Well, Oklahoma came out for the kickoff, and the special team guys were looking up in the stands to the Oklahoma folks and saying, come on, let's whoop it up. Let's go after them a little bit more. So the Sooners are having some fun this afternoon, but for the Longhorn, it is a long afternoon. Todd Thompson is teeing it up for the Sooners. Again, the wind is blowing. Flags are straight out, so they will hold it in old-fashioned style. Ricky Dixon is the man that'll hold it. He's a defensive back. And 91 is Todd Thompson, the kicker. Eric Metcalf and Kevin Nelson are the deep backs for the Longhorns. 10:25 remain in the third period. And again, this one sails straight out of the end zone. Nelson has no chance to return it. And Texas will start at its own 20. Don't forget, coming up later tonight, the American League Championship Series continues. California and Boston. And Roger Clemens comes back, Mike, with a 3-day rest. He had a rough time of it the other night in game number 1. Coming up Sunday, the American League Championship Series continues. Game 5, Red Sox versus the Angels. That'll start at 2:30 Eastern Time, 1:30 Central. The National League comes on later. Game 4, the Mets won with a big home run by Dystrom in the bottom of the last, and they lead that series 2-1. First down, Darren Norris takes it all the way down the line of scrimmage, and he may have lost a couple of yards. Speaking of Roger, nicely, Mike, by Troy Johnson and Brian Bosworth.
Speaking of Roger Clemens, he can't be too happy about what's happening here this afternoon at the Cotton Bowl. The Texas alum did one of his best pitching. This was in his glory days down here. It's a Longhorn.
I'd like to get his coach up here from Texas, Cliff Gustafson.
Heck of a football fan.
See how many times he came back in his college career. Pitched on just a 3-day rest. I bet he did it. He's strong as a bull. Second down and 13. Stafford pushed out of the pocket, now finds a receiver. And Tim McCray turns it and forces it up across the 24-yard line.
Want to be in that man's shoes.
Well, you know, the evidence of the slippage is 1 conference title in the last 8 years and only 2 Southwest Conference titles in his entire career. And the boosters that want him ousted jump right on and say, hey, look, that first one, he had Earl Campbell and all of the recruits that Darrell Royal brought into Texas. It is 3rd and 7. The 23, Stafford to throw, has it complete. And again, it's McCray who makes the catch.
But again, McCray short of the first down.
Well, that was Gabriel Johnson. It looked like an 81. It was a 31. Nonetheless, they are 3 yards short, and they'll have to punt it.
I would imagine that Vaz's day is done. He heads towards the sidelines.
Texas has been playing about 57 people a game. Alex Waits, true freshman, again, out to punt. He'll be leg weary by the end of the afternoon. Longest punt today has been 55 yards. This one gets a Texas bounce. Patrick Collins will let it roll, and it'll go inside the 20 to the 27-yard line, and that's where the Longhorns will down it. Another 55-yard punt for Alex Waits. Here comes Oklahoma. 1963, one of the rare times in college football when the #1 ranked team plays #2. Second-ranked Texas went on to beat Oklahoma 28-7. It was Bud Wilkinson's last appearance against the Longhorns. With 8 minutes and 44 seconds remaining in the third period of play at the Cotton Bowl, Oklahoma has changed quarterbacks again, and Eric Mitchell comes into the ball game. Jamel Holloway now takes a seat on the Oklahoma bench. Derek Shepard goes wide to the type of your screen. First down, the ball on the 18, and a give inside to Anthony Stafford, and he's tripped up immediately. You know, this will tell you how the afternoon has gone for Oklahoma. Spencer Tillman is the leading ball carrier today, and he's averaging 9.5 yards a carry. So almost a first down every time he touches it. Holloway has 8 yards. Collins is 8 yards. Stafford's 8 yards. Keith Jackson is 13 yards. The least is Lydell Carr, averaging 4 yards a carry. That's scary. This is Mitchell. Turns it up. Has one man to beat. And can't do it. Pretty good gain, though, and he's up near a first down. Stephen Braggs broke down and made a good tackle.
A couple of weeks ago when Oklahoma beat Minnesota 63-0, somebody asked the Golden Gopher coach if he thought Barry Switzer was running up the score. He said, no way. The athletes they kept trotting out onto the field were just that good. They wanted to score. They have to try to score.
Well, they have been dominant. Sooners beat UCLA 38-3, Minnesota 63-0, Kansas State 56-10, and they're leading here 38-0. That's not only dominance, that's just good old-fashioned lickings.
Indiana Hoosiers losing their first game of the season, 24-22 to Ohio State, so they're now 4-1. Arizona on top. UCLA about to pin another Pac-10 loss. Pittsburgh over Notre Dame. Jamel fooling around. That's his injured shoulder, that right one.
Well, you know, they just don't feel any pain, though, when they play Texas.
Well, everybody talks. You see the Penn State score. Auburn on top of Vandy Big. USC trailing Washington State in a surprise.
Did we have that Maryland score up yet? I want to find out how the Terps did.
Everybody talks about how tiny Jamel is, how short and quick he is. Boy, pretty powerful little athlete as you look at his upper body. Great physique.
Well, none of them are small as they bring out the chains. Holloway's 5'11", 180, but well built. Good upper body strength. Eric Mitchell, 6'1", 200 pounds, and they'll be just that shy. Oh, I don't know. That's close. So Oklahoma will punt it away. Todd Thompson comes back on to punt. So he's getting a lot of work today. Thompson had one kick for 30 yards, but he's been doing all the long kickoffs. Eric Metcalf is the lone return man for Texas.
Longhorns have 10 men at the line of scrimmage. Will they go for the block?
Well, I'll tell you this. Metcalf is exciting. The first time he ever touched a punt in college football, he returned it for a touchdown. I don't think he'll get the field with this one. It hits at the 37-yard line, and that's where it'll die. 34-yard punt. Oklahoma leads 38-0. Texas will have the ball.
Fall action as the second-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide tackles Tennessee, or a key Southwest Conference game. Coverage begins with College Football Today.
Jim Lampley in New York, 2 potential big upsets. In fact, this one is a big upset. Texas Tech has beaten Arkansas in Fayetteville 17-7. 2 touchdowns in the game by Texas Tech. Bouvier Dale and Billy Joe Tolliver. Great Southwest Conference names. Meanwhile, Southern Cal's unbeaten Trojans trail 17-0 at halftime in Pullman, Washington, and UCLA has come from behind to now lead Arizona 24-18 on a Gaston Green run. He had been out until this week with injury. Now let's go back to Dallas.
Jim, you mentioned the Arkansas upset. We want to take this opportunity to pass along our best wishes and hopes for a speedy recovery to Frank Broyles. Frank's recovering from minor surgery. He is in Little Rock. And Frank, as you know, is a friend of all of us here at ABC Sports, and we want to pass along our best to Frank and Barbara and hope Frank gets well. First and 10, Texas. They get it out to Everett Gay, and Everett Gay takes it across the 45 to the 47-yard line.
15th ranked Arizona State on top of Oregon at halftime. Murray's gang big over NC State. Illini bouncing back after that 14-0 loss to Ohio State to beat Purdue.
It is second down and 1. We've got 6:33 remaining in the third period. The ball is on the 47. This is a good opportunity for Texas to break loose, make a big play. Bosworth showed blitz and then backed off. And Texas is not going to get the first down on that play. Looks like their plays are taking too long to develop, especially on short yardage offense situations.
So long that backside defensive tackle Steve Bryant could run it down. Florida big over my little brother's team. He's coach for Kent State, 52-9. Army on top of Tennessee. What is wrong with the ball?
Well, I thought Gary Tranquil had them together. Look at this. 30-25, Boston College leading Maryland in the fourth quarter, and that'd be an upset. Texas is 0 for 10 in third down conversions. This is 3rd and 1 at the 47 to give inside up the midfield, first down, but there is a flag. And it is against Oklahoma, so the first down will stand. Mike, what goes through your mind, and I guess all of us have been in these ball games, but what goes through your mind, especially in a rivalry, when you're just getting knocked all over the field and you trail by 38 points?
Well, you tend to personalize it first. Actually, there's two thoughts. One thought, believe it or not, and I think you can believe it having been in the situation, you can't wait to get in the locker room and just get it over with. The other thought, of course, is personal pride. You're lined up going one-on-one against a guy all day afternoon. You want that guy to think good thoughts about you as a football player when he leaves this field. So you keep fighting, you keep plugging away, and you hope that something breaks. It's just strictly a matter of pride.
We saw Brian Bosworth play when the game was all but decided down in Miami. He made the last 3 tackles of the game and played extremely well. 1st and 10 from the 48. This is Hunter. Hunter gets a block, turns it inside, and gets across the 44, or the midfield stripe. But Brian Bosworth is the guy that made contact, and you could hear it up here.
I think we've been waiting to see that play all afternoon. A typical Brian Bosworth hit. Part of the problem is that Texas has been running away from him there with great pursuit. Bosworth applies to stop with a little emphasis.
You know, there has to be some concern, I guess, by Barry Switzer, too, about his kids getting sloppy. These are not the games you want your team to play in and keep them home for a national championship if they're in the hunt. 2nd and 11, Stafford to throw, does underneath. That's Tim McRae, the tight end, and McRae bangs his way down close to another Texas first down to the 37-yard line of Oklahoma. It's only the second time Texas has crossed the 50-yard line this game.
Last week in the 56-10 win over Kansas State, Barry said afterwards, we didn't play well enough to beat Texas. Today they've got 38 points on the board, and you can assume that they'll probably say the same thing next week about next week's opponent.
Well, the Texas fans have gotten a little bit excited, but the ones that are making the noise are the Oklahoma fans. They want the shutout against the rival Longhorns. 1st and 10 from the 38. Stafford to throw. In trouble. Underneath, almost intercepted, complete to Eric Metcalf. And he takes it down to the 34-yard line. Let's go down to Becky.
With me right now is Mrs. Fred Akers, Diane Akers. And Diane, I know there are always pressures on a coach's wife, but this week, this season, I know have been extremely stressful for your family. How have you been able to handle the pressure?
It has been fun. It's exciting, but it's a little scary too. You know. But I know that we're young, and I know that we're going to be better.
You are sitting in the stands with 2 of your 3 children. The score is now 38-0. What do you say to comfort them?
It's what do they say to me? They have to comfort me. Settle down, Mom. Just settle down.
All right, Mrs. Diane Akers, best of luck to you and your family in the future. Tim.
Well, being a coach's wife, Eric Metcalf turns it up, keeps his balance, and takes it across the 35 to the 34. And it has to be as tough on the coach's wives as it is on the coach, because they too are competitive. They too have been in this game as almost as long as their husbands, and very difficult. And the kids have to hear it at school.
Yeah. and they have to have the patience of a saint. You've got to husband football now. College football is a 12-month-a-year proposition. During the season, they are away nearly all day long. You want to stay on top of the game. You watch films. You break down films. You look at next week's opponent. Tough to be a White.
3rd down and 6 from the 34. Gay in motion. Play action fake. Stafford in trouble. Gets it out to Norris. Norris down across the 30. Will not be enough for a first down. Sonny Brown made the tackle out of a strong safety spot.
Crowd crying for Texas to go for it. 4th and 2.
And Texas will on 4th and 2 from the 30-yard line. 3 minutes, 16 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. This is as loud as the Texas fans have been all afternoon. Stafford to throw. Drops it over the middle. First down, Texas. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective. Tim McRae had to go high in the air to pull that one down.
I don't know what his vertical leap is on the play, but Stafford, one of the poorest passes he's thrown all afternoon, off of his back foot, a little jump pass, but watch this one-hand grab, and he gets the first down.
Tim McRae looked like he was trying to pull down a long fly ball for a home run by Lynn Dykstra.
A big rebound underneath the bucket.
First down, Texas. The option. Norris in trouble. Nowhere to go. Great block by Eric Metcalf. But still, the pursuit was too much. David Vickers was there to make the first hit, but there were a host of other Oklahoma Sooners. Boy, little Eric Metcalf came back. And Stafford was being chased by 6 Sooners. And Metcalf, like a bowling ball, took half up and down. That's impressive.
David Vickers, who's played a whale of a game, made the play.
That's a competitor, Eric Metcalf. Timeout, Oklahoma.
League Championship Series. Oil Can loses his grip as Angel backstroke the long ball. California leads Boston 2-1. Game 4 tonight.
I'll tell you, one of the unsung heroes for the Oklahoma defense this afternoon, number 10, David Vickers. Now watch him here. He gets knocked down. He spins out of a block by Eric Metcalf, falls on the ground. Norris changes directions, is tracked down by Troy Johnson there, but watch Vickers come back and make the play with a resounding hit.
2nd down, 22 yards to go. The ball on the 33. Texas with the football. Stafford the pass. Has a man, and it's incomplete. Gabriel Johnson came in on the post pattern, was open and had the football, but couldn't hold on.
Have you noticed how the complexion of this game has changed a little bit, Tim? Some of the emotion that we were looking for in the 1st quarter is finally now present here in the 3rd. To watch Gabriel Johnson split the seam there. Should have made the catch. And talk about statistics. Did you see? OU has outrushed Texas today 50-1. 301 yards to 6 on the ground.
You're laughing, but that's not funny at all.
It's not funny to Austin. You're right.
Timeout, Texas. Stafford wants to talk things over. And there's what you're just talking about, Mike. Oklahoma 301 yards. Texas has 6, and that is somewhat amazing. A lot of pressure on that man, Fred Akers. But he's a competitor. We had a nice long chat yesterday, and he knows that his job's on the line, but he says he doesn't have to apologize to anybody for what he's done. These are the games we have coming up for you next Saturday on ABC Sports. CFA college football has Alabama and all of Cornelius Bennett and all of Ray Perkins guys from the Bama Tide going against Tennessee. Or you may see 13th ranked Baylor against Texas A&M. Ranked 14th, the old Southwest Conference clash. Check your local listings, 3 o'clock Eastern time. That's our coverage. That starts in the studio in New York. Alabama won big today, too. I made the statement last week, Mike, and after talking to Gil Brandt, I said that although although Brian Bosworth is an outstanding talent and gets all the publicity, I thought Cornelius Bennett ranked second to none. He'll have an impact his first year in the National Football League like Lawrence Taylor had. And Gil Brandt said, who was the scout for the Dallas Cowboys, said that he thinks the two top players taken would be Testaverde and Cornelius Bennett. Here's the pass over the middle. Everett Gay has it. Spins off a tackle to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Texas. Perseverance, tenacity, competitiveness. Texas didn't quit and scored and knocked that goose egg off the board and believed it. Oklahoma wanted that shutout badly.
Dwayne Pinner said we were looking for this play all day long. We've got speed at the wide receivers. Everett Gay getting inside those two defenders, bouncing it back outside, getting a nice pass from Brett Stafford. The result, a Texas touchdown, finally.
Texas is going for 2. The score is 38-6. Gay in motion. Stafford to throw. Rolls to the right. Has a run throw option. Stops, throws back, and it's incomplete. Well, the receivers ran out of real estate down in the corner. They were skating along and trying to stay with Stafford. They got to the sidelines the same time he did, rather than one of them breaking off and running a broken pattern to help him out. Let's go back to New York. Here's Jim Lampley.
All right, well, let's give an NCAA since I just had it thrown to me. As you can see, with 3.5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter.
They're not on.
I'm not on. Now I am on. Okay, let's give an update of Arizona-UCLA in the fourth quarter. 3 minutes and 30 seconds remaining after UCLA had come back from down 18-0 to go ahead 24-18. Arizona has now come back on a halfback option pass for touchdown. The extra point giving the Wildcats a 25-24 lead in Pasadena. 3.5 minutes to go. Now let's go back to Dallas, and I hope they're ready.
Jim, we were both on, and Texas is on the scoreboard now, too. 38-6.
Tim, I think you said it best. It's easy to knock a team when they're down 38-0, but Texas, Fred Akers and company hung tough. Refused to give up.
Anthony Stafford, Patrick Collins, they're the deep guys. It will be kicked away deep. Jeff Ward is the kicker. He is not a long kicker. It's taken on the 15-yard line by Patrick Collins. And Collins takes it out across the 25 to the 26-yard line, and that's where Oklahoma will have the football. So Barry Switzer continues to play a lot of people, trying to get experience to his young people and trying to keep the older ones honed and keep that competitive edge, because they'll need that as they go along. Boy, that should be some football game near the end of the year between Nebraska and Oklahoma.
Big Ed championship on the line.
Derek Shepard comes wide. Leon Perry, Earl Johnson, and Anthony Stafford at the backs. Eric Mitchell is the quarterback. It is 1st and 10 from the 26. Eric Mitchell goes down in a pile. Good penetration that time by the entire defensive line of Texas. Thomas Aldridge was there, Terry Steelhammer, and Ken Hackemeck. Must be something in the air here at the State Fairgrounds. I'm starting to get runny nose.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a taste of corn dogs.
We'll put on the feed bag in a little while. You already have 2nd and 12 from the 24. We've got 1:35 remaining, third period. This one's going deep, has a man at Shepard, and it's overthrown. Eric Jeffries was the cornerback on that side. Derek Shepard had gotten behind him on the post pattern, and the ball was overthrown by that man, Eric Mitchell.
Pass play, an indication of how strong Mitchell's arm is.
Shepard's thinking to himself, boy, that one was out there. I really got behind the secondary, and the ball was overthrown. Come on, Eric.
Even though he's covering about 40 yards in about 4 seconds, I'm sure it seems like slow motion when he sees that ball in the air, just out of his reach.
2nd and 12. Mitchell, the pitch back. Johnson is ridden out of bounds at the 32 by Stephen Braggs.
Got to put a helmet on the fullback. You have to put a helmet on the quarterback, a helmet on the pitchman. It's like a 3-on-2 fast break that time. Oklahoma with the man advantage.
Tom Thompson comes out on the field late. He was sleeping on the sidelines and just watching a good ball game, but now he's on to do the punting. And it's Eric Metcalf, who is deep for Texas. And I'd love to see Eric field it. High punt, and Eric will fair catch it on the 26-yard line. So with 1:14 remaining in the 3rd quarter of play, following that 42-yard punt, Texas will have good field position at the 26. Don't forget, coming up later this evening, the American League Championship Series continues. Game 4, Boston with Roger Clemens on the hill, going against the California Angels in Sutton. That's tonight, 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And it's been an outstanding series, both in the National League and the American League thus far. Marvelous game this afternoon. 1st and 10 from the 26. Stafford with pressure, unloads it down the middle to Gay, and knocked away nicely by Brian Bosworth. And that will show you the agility of a big man who is 6'2", 245. Brian Bosworth.
Tim, you mentioned the head of Dallas Cowboys player personnel, Gil Brandt, earlier. The knock on Bosworth, if he has a weak link in his overall picture as a defensive player, it's pass defense. They say he has to get a little bit better at that. But watch the deep drop by the Boz, gets back in plenty of time and breaks the play up.
That linebacker's supposed to get back about 12 yards, settle into a hook zone, and then skate with the quarterback. He went beyond that and played the ball like a defensive back. 2nd and 10. And Darrell Reed came through untouched for the sack. Boy, somebody up front threw a lookout block. Just turned and said look out because they didn't touch Reed.
Like David Vickers, Reed's another guy who doesn't get all the press notices in the world outside of Norman, Oklahoma, but he's a player.
Well, you know, Oklahoma will do that, though. They'll play a few games up front. That time, Darrell Reed played a game, came behind Richard Reed on a little loop, and came through cleanly. It just never was picked up. Well, that'll bring up 3rd down and a taxi ride for Texas. 21 yards for the first. The ball now on the 15. And this could be the last play of the 3rd quarter. Stafford, quarterback draw. Nothing there. Now he breaks loose. Nailed at the 20-yard line. Troy Johnson made the big hit. He's the right end. Got lost in the traffic, and when Brett Stafford went to stop to look for a cutback, he met Mr. Johnson. So that's the end of the 3rd quarter. And I don't see any flags, but there is a conversation between the officials.
Texas punting team coming onto the field. Alex Waits.
Well, they're saying that Oklahoma had called a timeout before time had expired. So what they'll do is give Oklahoma the timeout. And I think they'll switch sides, or will they?
Switzer is on the near sideline. The Oklahoma sideline, Barry is arguing with the official. He's saying he didn't call any timeout.
Well, I think the officials are talking this over. One standing pat at the 20, the other saying, let's go down the other end. So there's a little bit of confusion there as well. But the bottom line is Oklahoma has called timeout. And they will stay there. Oklahoma will punt from its own 20. The reason Oklahoma called timeout, I assume, is because the wind is blowing at a pretty good pace at Texas, and they want Texas to kick into that wind so that they can get good field position. So even though Oklahoma has a 38-6.
Will you please put 5 seconds on the clock?
Well, I think we can do that. Even though Oklahoma has 38-6 lead, still a lot of strategy going on down on the sideline. Barry Switzer was really working toward that wind, and he didn't want him to change sides. That's why he was yelling at the officials. That's correct. Well, it may take us a few seconds to figure things out, but we usually get it, Michael. Nicely done. Alex waits to punt. Patrick Collins is deep. Waits. Does not get off a good punt. It'll hit at the 49-yard line. Get a big bounce, and Collins will take it. Nowhere to run. Gets it back almost to the 35-yard line. So it was a 48-yard punt. And we'll return to the Cotton Bowl in Dallas after this message and a word from our local stations.
Retton, she is now a freshman student here at the University of Texas. And Mary Lou, this is your first Oklahoma-Texas game. What are your impressions?
Well, I came prepared. I was told that it was so much. One half of the stadium would be red and one would be orange, and it's true. And there's so much enthusiasm. It's great, really.
You announced a couple of weeks ago your retirement from gymnastics. How are you doing in the quiet life of a student now?
I love it. I really do. I accomplished my goal in 1984, and now I really want to make education my goal now, and I want to make good grades. So.
All right. Best of luck at the University of Texas. Mary Lou Retton, Olympic gold medalist. Tim.
She's energizing the Longhorns. First and 10 at the 34, and the give inside the Lydell car.
Retired at the tender age of 18, and she still has that $1 million Wheaties grin, huh?
Bobby!
If you look at these third quarter statistics, all you can say is at least Texas is on the board.
307 yards rushing against 0 for Texas. Last year, the Sooners held the Longhorns to 70 net yards total offense, which is the lowest total of Akers error at Texas. Today, at least they have 161. This is Mitchell.
Goodbye.
Mitchell breaks containment.
Goodbye.
Gets a block. He's across midfield. Cuts back. It's a foot race. And he's brought down from behind by Lee Brockman, number 63, the strong linebacker. And I believe if he gets by that tackle, he's gone.
Just another amazing example of this kid's talent. If he wasn't playing at Oklahoma, he'd be a starter anywhere else in America. A lot of this, Tim, is just individual effort. Great fake to the fullback, and then he's off to the races. Watch how many moves he makes. He sets up blockers like a running back, and then the rest is all his own doing. Cuts back against the grain. He's got a foot race with Lee Brockman. That's the only man to bring him down. Otherwise, 40 yards.
Patrick Collins to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Oklahoma. And the party is on in Norman.
Patrick Collins, the 5'10", 185-pound senior, unsung member of that Sooner wishbone. Third touchdown of the afternoon.
Tim Lasher on for the extra point. And again, he's right on the money. But watch how Carr just splits Senegal and Griffin, the safeties.
Fake set up. They fake the counter play.
Collins, rather.
Lydell Carr inside, and then bang to Patrick Collins inside. So quick hitting is the play that we don't pick him up until he's way deep in the Texas secondary. Breaks a tackle, and so long.
See Collins split those safeties, though? Just ran them off each other. Senegal and Griffin.
In New York, Arizona and UCLA are headed for a wild finish in Pasadena, where UCLA capped off a drive that began with intentional grounding, 2nd and 19 at its 4, with a 32-yard Gaston Green touchdown run and a 2-point conversion. Now 6 seconds to go. The Bruins leading Arizona 32-25 and hanging on. Tim?
Ricky Dixon is down to hold for Oklahoma. And as you look at the largest Ferris wheel of the world, Thompson kicks off to Eric Metcalf, and Metcalf will field it on the 13. Metcalf looks for a hole, tries to explode, and does across the 30 to the 32. And as you look out over the Cotton Bowl now, Mike, you look to the left side of the 50 and you see an awful lot of blue seats. As you look to the right of the 50-yard line, you see it is still jam-packed to capacity with the red of Oklahoma.
It's a 200-mile trip, as you mentioned at the top of the show.
Watch him fill up now on the right of the 50. See that?
Yeah. In Norman, Oklahoma. I'd like to savor every single moment of this if I was a Sooner fan. I think the rest of the empty seats, they're probably on that Ferris wheel at the Texas State Fair.
We still have 13 minutes, 48 seconds remaining in the ball game, and this may yet become the largest Oklahoma win in the series. Oklahoma back in 1908 beat Texas 50-0. Right now it's 45-6. Metcalf looks for a hole, gets one, gets outside to the 35, to the 40. Eric Metcalf. Derek White made the tackle, but Metcalf is explosive. And there's the final now. UCLA has beaten Arizona 32-25. You know, we've talked about that since the beginning of the telecast, Mike, that Texas had to go with the big play guy, Metcalf, and they really haven't done it that much.
They haven't. It goes back to the point I made, Tim, about maybe trying to do too many things instead of just getting the ball to Eric. But
it'll be 2nd and 1. The ball on the 41. Switch to the right. They call that waggle pass, and they had it right from the get-go. You could hear the call from the Oklahoma sideline. They said, watch the waggle pass. The waggle is when you send everybody one way, the quarterback goes the other with a blocker. He went out that way, and Scott Garl, number 49, the defensive back, was not fooled. It's a good scouting report. They could just tell the way McCray switched formations, went to the tight side, the right side, that the waggle was coming. Tipped it off. They have not gotten lackadaisical with a 45-6 lead. Third and 7. Metcalf in motion. The give is to Norris up the middle, and Norris spins his way up to the 45, just shy of the 45. But it is a Texas first down. Fred Akers does have quality players. This is the best collection of offensive talent he's had in 10 years. They just aren't in sync right now. And as Wayne Painter told us yesterday, only 60% of the offense is in right now. Nonetheless, they've just been beaten off the football, beaten in the trenches. The linebackers have been on the backs, and they have not been able to execute.
But at least the second half, anyway, they're playing a lot more enthusiastically, I think.
Scott Garl is playing enthusiastically. That's the third big player in the last 5 plays that he's been in on.
And somebody missed an assignment.
You have to wonder, Mike, if Dwayne Painter is trying to put too much offense in. And we've talked about this, and we don't want to beat it to death, but he does have talent on that offense. I mean, there are kids on that offense of Texas that could play anywhere in the country, be starters and stars, and they haven't meshed together. They aren't playing that well. In their 2 wins, they only won by a total of 4 points. Tackle in trouble, takes it across the 40 to midfield, knocked out of bounds there by Lonnie Finch.
Brett Stafford running for his life there. He did one little thing that good quarterbacks should do when he raised his head and faking the pass, even though he was ahead of the line of scrimmage. It slowed down pursuer Darren Kilpatrick just enough to get him, spring him loose for a fairly sizable gain.
What do you think about that offense?
Well, I like the concept, but I think, again, I can't say this enough. I think they've been trying to do too many things. They've got all these different formations. They had a lot of success early on, for instance, isolating Metcalf against the linebackers and the defensive ends, running those little out patterns. And they would leave it. They would abandon it and go to something else.
3rd down and 5. The ball at the 50. High pressure, and he gets it away. This is Tim McCray who makes the catch. He'll be shy of the first down. to bring up 4th down, but again, it's Scott Garl who hit Brett Stafford, and I mean, he was coming.
Well, there's nothing vanilla about this Oklahoma defense. Up 45-6. Barry Switzer's gang, he's still got him coming on defense. Blind side. Brett Stafford never had a chance. That's how you get a quarterback killed. You know, all you need to do is look at the rushing statistics, Tim. No yards on the ground. There's a tail of the game. They said, even Painter said, as much as we're going to be a more air offensive attack this year, we've got to run a little bit.
But you know, you can't let up. You can't get out of the things that you do, or you're hurting your own team. You've got to keep coming. You've got to use the defense that you use in tight ball games. Else you lose the edge. Brett Stafford throws and quick in pattern to Johnson, and it's complete. And that'll be enough for a 1st down. So on 4th down, they convert and get the 1st. Again, Scott Garl came on Brett Stafford. Somebody's not picking him up.
Number 1 Hurricanes continue to roll. Michigan State without Lorenzo White, losing to the Wolverines, 4th-rated Wolverines.
Give inside is Darren Norris. Norris gets across the 40 to the 39-yard line.
Shocker, huh? USC trailing Washington State by 10 at halftime. Sun Devils by 20 over Oregon.
Well, let's talk about some of the dominant teams around the country, Mike, while we still have 9 minutes left in the ball game. 45-6 Oklahoma. Texas has a nice drive going here, but Miami winning awfully big against West Virginia. Alabama, we saw last week, dominate Notre Dame. Flanker screen, Everett Gray. Gay picks up a block, and he's close to another Texas 1st down. So it'll bring up 3rd and short. Nebraska is unbeaten and getting stronger, and a lot of youngsters there with Taylor and Keith Jones.
You saw them against Florida State. They are a good football team. Penn State, for some reason, always seems to struggle against Cincinnati. The Bearcats aren't that bad a football team.
Michigan beat Michigan State today. So the Wolverines go to 5-0. And then, of course, we have Oklahoma here with 45 points in the Penn State. It's going to be a race for number 1.
Right down to
a lot of strong teams.
Right down to New Year's Day.
3rd down, 1 yard. Needed for the 1st. This is Metcalf, and he has the 1st down, but there is a flag. Metcalf is exciting.
Talked about him being the son of famous NFLer Terry. He really admires his dad, and he watches videotapes. When he was a little kid, he watched videotapes. He watched Monday Night Football. Did everything he could to pattern his moves and the way he runs after his father.
His dad, of course, the great running back for the St. Louis Cardinals and later with the Washington Redskins. Worked for the Washington Federals for a while in a public relations capacity. Here's the call.
We got offsides on the red. 1st down.
Metcalf never worked with weights until he got to Oklahoma, and he says, hey, my dad said it comes from the legs. You don't have to be that strong to hold on to the football up top.
Terry's right about that. Great athletes are strong from the middle of their torso right through their top of their kneecaps.
Wouldn't be surprised to see him in the 1988 Olympics. Brett Stafford on 1st down. Again, there's pressure. Here's the guy we're talking about. This is Metcalf. Touchdown, Texas. Eric Metcalf.
But it is, in theory, what the offensive coordinator, Dwayne Painter, wanted to do all game long. Isolate an exceptional talent like Metcalf one-on-one. This time, Sonny Brown misses a tackle there. Or actually, Lonnie Finch, rather, the left cornerback. And when you've got a guy like Metcalf, who is an exceptional player, one-on-one's the only way to go. And finally, they make it work.
Eric Metcalf, he is only an 18-year-old sophomore. 7 minutes, 48 seconds left, and Texas is going for 2. Brett Stafford wants to call timeout, trailing 45-12 with 7 minutes and 48 seconds remaining. To 12 is the score with 7:48 remaining in the ball game, and Brett Stafford had heated up on this last drive. 13 attempts. He was 11 for 13, 128 yards. He's got 2 touchdowns on the day. That's his afternoon's work. I didn't mean to make it sound like it was the drive. It was what he's been doing all afternoon. Now they're going for 2. Intended for Gabrielle Johnson, and it was broken up nicely by Derek White. So again, they get shut out on the 2-point conversion, and the score remains 45-12. Coming up next Saturday, don't forget, CFA coverage continues on ABC Sports. Alabama and Tennessee will be seen, along with Baylor and Texas A&M. Big Southwest Conference matchup between the 13th and 14th ranked teams in the country. Check your local listings for the game and time in your area. Next Saturday, CFA football continues. Another chance to see Cornelius Bennett in action, and you know I like him.
He is a heck of a player, Tim.
Big, strong, and I'll tell you, he knows the difference between come here and sick 'em.
Take a look at the Longhorn drive. You know, coaches are hopeless optimists, and as well they should be. And if you take a look at the second half scoring, it was 31-0 Sooners at halftime. And you know this is the only way Texas can look at it. Next week, the coaching staff will say, hey, listen, we played them tough second half. It's only 14-12. They've done a lot of good things. They've played with more emotion, done some things better offensively.
You know, that's the right approach, though. You're going to have to take these kids back in the locker room, back to Austin, talk to them, and get their heads screwed on correctly. Give them a checkup from the neck up, get rid of all that stinking thinking, alleviate those hardening of the attitudes.
I'd burn the first half films and show them only the second half. This is what we can do against a good team.
Kick by Texas, taken by Oklahoma, and Sonny Brown falls on it, number 8. And it will be Oklahoma's ball up near midfield. In Texas territory, they'll mark it at the 48-yard line. So the ball was kicked well for the onside kick, took that big hop. They didn't have a blocker down there to take Sonny Brown out, and a retrieve man to catch it.
Sullivan.
And he gets a standing ovation. He's just a junior, number 11.
Right here in Irving, Texas. A little far, not too far away from the Cotton Bowl.
Playing in front of the home folks, and there's a pretty good lick there. Rodney Anderson, the fullback.
Sullivan does not get a lot of work, obviously, with 2 quarterbacks like Jamel Holloway and Eric Mitchell. Probably played a lot of Brett Stafford this week. Remember the scout team.
Brian Espinosa had the big hit that last play, and he goes out now. I think he may have busted a face mask. 2nd and 10 from the 48. The fake to pitch. Outside is Stafford, and Stafford's down inside the 45 to the 43-yard line. There is a flag. And here's the call. Holding against Oklahoma. At times, this is the most professional of all amateur sports. But you're right. It's still a game, and that's why it continues to flourish. And when things seem so important on Saturday afternoon, they're not so important Saturday night and Sunday.
We got Eagle loose, hands on the offense. Still 2nd down.
.55 remaining in the ball game. It's all Oklahoma. The long pass, and intended for Shepard, and it is almost intercepted. Eric Jeffries, the right cornerback, had his hands on it, but couldn't wheel it in. It's a pretty good arm on Sullivan.
It was a little bit of a quacker, though.
Well, it didn't have the spiral, the tight spiral. It didn't have the velocity, but it went a pretty good distance.
And you got to remember he's a southpaw.
And they don't get that tight spiral.
Little Kenny Stabler action on it.
Texas bright spot for the future, I guess, as you look over this game, is Alexander Waits, the punter. 7 punts, 46-yard average, 2 inside the 20. Len Sullivan, the carrier. Mike January, the tackler. Very few Texas fans remain in the Cotton Bowl. I think they've all gone back to the hotel where they were outside my room until 4 o'clock this morning. Loud. Todd Thompson, the punter for Oklahoma. Eric Metcalf is the deep back for Texas. And the ball goes out of bounds at the 15, but it's all for naught. They'll bring it back and give Oklahoma a first down. I do believe.
I'll tell you what, number 11, Tony Tillman, and you're going to see them appear in your screen here in just a second, and number 44, Fred Strommel, both coming from opposite sides, try to block the punt. Usually what you do is you send just one guy. You pick that spot if he's a 2-step kicker or a 3-step kicker where he's going to release the ball or hit the ball. That time, that had to hurt. And ironically, it looks like as though they're going to get a call for roughing the kicker.
Well, it won't be enough for the first down, I don't believe.
Running into the kicker, 5 yards, still 4th down.
Well, that's correct. See, it's still not enough for a first down, so they'll punt it again. Thompson comes onto the field, and we'll get another shot at it. It's not an automatic first down anymore, but I forgot about the penalty that moved them beyond marker. So instead of 4th and 5, it was 4th and 10, and they still have to punt.
Well, let's watch the 2 end guys now. Get your signals straight now, fellas.
4 don'ts to the kicking game. Don't be off sides, don't rough the kicker, don't let the ball hit the ground, and don't clip. Trying to draw them off sides to get the next 5 yards and penalty. Finally the snap. Again the pressure. Metcalf makes the fair catch, and the ball does not go into the end zone, and it's down to the 1. Kevin Thompson, the defensive back, just a freshman, number 22, got down in a hurry and downed it on the 1.5-yard line, a 43-yard kick.
To the day. Here is the fact of the day. While Indiana was trying to beat Ohio State in Bloomington for the first time since 1904, regular field goal kicker Pete Stoyanovich was at home, missing the game because of the death of his mother. A backup field goal kicker whose name need not be used here missed 35 and 39-yard field goal tries, either one of which could have provided the winning margin in the game. Tim Brandt, don't let those nattering nabobs at USA Today tell you Monday anything else was the fact of the day. That was the fact of the day.
You also get the Hustle Award for trying to find it. Well, we've got a new quarterback here, Jim Lampley. Donovan Forbes comes in, and he'll now be taking his first snap of the year. His first snap as a Longhorn, actually. He was a redshirt freshman last year. And the ball is loose in the end zone. Safety. Mark, 2 points on the board for Oklahoma. Eric Metcalf went after the loose ball. Liddell Glenn came after the left cornerback from Oklahoma. And 2 more points go up on the board for the Sooners.
How many times do we see this happen when a new quarterback comes into the game? Sometimes there are exchange problems. There, Forbes, it looks like a pretty good handoff. Hits Metcalf a little high up on his shoulder pads. He never controls the ball, and before he can, Liddell Glenn is there to register the Oklahoma safety.
Welcome to big-time college football. Oh, that's a shame. Tough way to start for Donovan Forbes. He's an outstanding athlete. Played football, baseball, basketball in high school. Was one of the highly recruited athletes out of the Houston area. And played, as you mentioned, played for the Longhorns baseball team as a pitcher.
And that was the very first snap he's taken this season.
Well, it's the first snap he's taken as a Longhorn in real competition. Well, Fred Akers pulls them all over to the side. They talk. Now they'll come out for the free kick, and it is now 47-12. Alex Waits, number 80 for Texas, the barefooted, left-footed kicker, will punt it to Oklahoma. Boy, with 5 minutes and 15 seconds remaining in the game, you do not want to give it back to the Sooners. Patrick Collins and Derek Shepard are the deep backs, awaiting the kick. And it's a good one. And it hits at the 22 and rolls all the way down to the 13-yard line before it goes out of bounds. (47-12). Mike, what do you do mentally now? I mean, to restore this, it just continues to get worse. Now, this is like a kickoff, and it goes out of bounds, so they'll be penalized 5 yards, I believe. Isn't that the way it works, Mike? And move it back now and kick again.
This time from the 15-yard line.
I'm sure that's the way it works. It is a free kick following a safety, but you have to keep it in play.
This time they'll kick from the 15-yard line.
Frustration upon frustration. It's eerie looking around this stadium where the 50-yard line splits it. To the left is almost empty. To the right, it's still jam-packed with Sooner fans.
And the opposite is true on the field. You've got all the Sooners on that side of the field. And a frustrated band of Longhorns all lined up along this 12-yard line. Long day. Oof.
Another flag, and they're going to call offsides on Texas. Collins returns it to the 35, but I believe Texas was offsides. Sloppy. We are getting sloppy now. We have leveled off and gone into mediocrity at best.
Well, let's do it all over again, fellas. This time for the 10.
The newspapers have been loaded this week with headlines, and I mean direct and very startling headlines that Fred Akers would be fired. As a matter of fact, one headline said it was imminent. Another said that Fred's replacement was already being talked to. And yet another said that if Oklahoma beat Texas decisively, that Fred Akers would be fired at the end of this ball game, and his replacement would be offensive coordinator Dwayne Painter as interim coach until at least the end of the year. When I personally spoke with DeLossdod, the athletic director at Texas yesterday, I asked him that question pointedly, and he said no, emphatically no, there will not be a coaching change at least until the end of the year, and that's when we'll sit down and make the decision. And it is DeLossdod's decision. But he is under an awful lot of pressure. As a matter of fact, one booster, one supporter of the Texas Education Foundation, which supports and contributes heavily to the scholarship fund, said that if the athletic director will not make a change, then we'll get an athletic director that will. So he too is under some pressure. And this is a booming punt. What a booming punt. Waits puts it all the way down 90 yards into Oklahoma's end zone. And the Sooners now after all that. We'll bring it out to the 20, and even Fred Akers smiles. A 90-yard kick by Waits, Alex Waits. And that will go down as a kickoff, or if it was a punt, it would have been a new record.
Yeah.
But because it follows a safety, it is a free kick, and it is a kickoff, I do believe.
He hit that about as perfect as you can hit a ball. Sliced through the wind, perfect tight spiral, rolling off his foot.
Wow. 1st and 10, Oklahoma. And Rodney Anderson gets his first carry. He's just a sophomore. Sullivan now getting a little bit of experience. The quarterback, 6'3", 210-pound junior from Irving, Texas. The quarterback at Oklahoma now. The 3rd quarterback used by Barry Switzer this afternoon. Mel Holloway had an outstanding performance. Eric Mitchell came in and lit up the scoreboard, and now it is Glenn Sullivan's turn. Eric Gross, just a freshman, gets his first carry of the day. So now Barry Switzer continues to play everybody that he brought along on the trip to Dallas, Texas.
You know, we talked about the number of some of the recruiting problems that Fred Akers has experienced of late. You have to go to the 30 scholarship limit as part of the problem. It has sort of spread the wealth. There's been, I think, recommitment on the part of other Southwestern Conference schools towards their football programs. That is cut into the Texas high school talent, not just Oklahoma.
Sullivan on the bootleg brings it around, and he'll get across the 30 before he's taken down there, and he'll be close to a first down. Stephen Braggs is the man that made the tackle. But, Mike, even at that, what the boosters are upset about is that he's not getting the blue chippers in the home state to come to the University of Texas, which used to be a lock. They say now they're going to Baylor, Texas A&M, SMU, and even Oklahoma. Oklahoma, as we mentioned, has 23 Texans on its roster here today. And the boosters say that the Longhorns got only one true blue chipper last year from the Texas.
The question is, can they ever regain that prowess? He used to be a high school kid growing up in the great state of Texas, dreamed of being a Longhorn, but no more. Guys like Eric Dickerson, Craig James wound up going to SMU. Of course, Billy Sims from Hooks, Texas, goes to Oklahoma. It's all changed in the last 10 years.
Rodney Anderson again gets the carry. Oklahoma had loaded up. Today's Texas-Oklahoma game has been produced by Kurt Gowdy Jr., directed by Andy Sedaris. Technical Director Werner Gunther, Wink. Associate Director Ben Harvey. Technical Manager Mike Fisher. Unit Manager Rob Brodlick. Assistants to the producer Bruce Dunn and Jack Laura. Statistician Dave Burnson and spotter Todd Barrett. We've got 2:48 remaining in the Cotton Bowl at Dallas. The game has been over since the first series that Oklahoma had the football. It's 47-12 Sooners. Len Sullivan taken down by Terry Steelhammer. Steelhammer is a senior. He's 6'3", 260 pounds, a fifth-year senior out of El Paso, Texas. Oklahoma fans are wondering if Brian Bosworth will return. He will graduate this spring and still has a year of eligibility left.
And our Chevrolet players of the game, punter Alex Waits for Texas. 7 punts, a 46.4-yard average, 2 inside the 20. And of course, that 90-yard kickoff off to the after the safety. And offensively for Oklahoma, Jamel Holloway, 94 yards rushing, 1 touchdown, and just ran that wishbone to perfection.
1 minute and 50 seconds left in the ball game. That has lasted into the darkness. 47-12 our score. The dejection of the Texas Longhorns. And it has been a long afternoon. I've been in a couple of these myself, as you have, Mike. 47-12 is our score, and Todd Thompson will kick it away. He's averaged 36 yards a punt this afternoon, and that one was almost blocked. Metcalf takes this one on the 40, grabs the handle, cuts back inside to the 44-yard line. I want to remind you one more time that the playoffs, the baseball playoffs, continue tonight. Roger Clemens will be on the hill for Boston, Sutton for California. As as that series continues, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Boston Red Sox and the California Angels. Well, the California Angels are cranking up the old-timers again, aren't they? Reggie came through with a big hit again last night.
See that slide into third base, Tim?
Well, it's been a long time since he's had to do that. From the 43, first down, 10 yards. Hunter goes in motion. Blanker screen, Kevin Nelson, and Nelson takes it across midfield to the 48-yard line. Donovan Forbes got it out in a hurry. So he shows a little life in that arm. And he's got his first completed pass as a college player.
Everett Gay bringing in the play from the sidelines for Texas.
Fred Akers' record will go to 83, 27-2. He is a good coach. He is tenacious. However, his organizational skills have been challenged by the boosters. That umbrella covers recruiting. Forbes unloading it, throwing it deep to Gay, and it's almost picked off. And again, he goes deep, and he's showing everybody what kind of arm he has. Kenneth McMichael was the defensive back who almost picked it off. He's just a freshman. But Donovan Forbes goes up top again.
Alabama big over Memphis State. Tide continues to roll. Number 2 in the country, Penn State actually trailed Cincinnati before rallying to win.
Cincinnati's not a bad football team.
Very good football.
And plays Penn State very tough.
I believe they're next on Miami's schedule.
3rd and 1. A long one. Forbes to throw. Has time. Throws it across the middle. This is Metcalf. It's a foot race to the 40. Down to the 35 as he cuts back into the 34-yard line.
Upset of the day, Texas Tech. 17-7 over number 8 Arkansas.
Now even the Oklahoma fans have had enough as they make their way to the gates here at the Cotton Bowl and head to the fair. A couple of Ferris wheel rides today, a couple of corn dogs, and they'll head it home back to Norman. Texans will go back to Austin. Play action, rolls right, has plenty of room to run, but instead throws way over top of Everett Gay. But he had the corner, and it was wide open. He probably could have had a first down.
I guess you got to give a youngster like Forbes, who may wind up being the quarterback before the season is over, a chance to display what he can do.
Look at that one. 30-25. Boston College upsetting Maryland. 4th quarter.
I think they're purposely, Tim, not posting the final.
You know, I was going to say that's a long football game.
To give you a little hope there.
In the 4th quarter for the last hour. Forbes again, same play. This time throws back to Metcalf. Metcalf has to take it back to the middle of the field. He does, and is down to the 28-yard line. The 42nd mark. And mercifully, the clock ticks down. Again, Forbes throws, and it's incomplete. And that ball hit between the 4 and the 5 on Jeremy Robertson's chest. Robertson, just a redshirt freshman out of Houston, Texas. This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Cigna, a leader in insurance, healthcare, employee benefits, and financial services. By the U.S. Armed Forces, it's a great place to start. By Manville, 21,000 people with one goal, to be America's best supplier. And by Hayes Microcomputer Products Incorporated. Say yes to the future with Hayes. Seconds left. Forbes again throws deep, incomplete. Sonny Brown had a beat on it, but ran out of real estate before he could pick it off. seconds remain on the clock. We'll be back right after this. Bevo has had a long day. Everybody has, but he doesn't have the luxury of leaving like a lot of these fans have done. 28 seconds remain in the ball game, which has been totally dominated by Oklahoma. Len Sullivan turns it up, and we are seeing some impressive freshmen now. Mike January, a fifth-year senior, made the tackle on the freshman.
That'll do it. Final seconds ticking away here in Dallas, Texas. Cotton Bowl. A very long afternoon for the Texas Longhorns and Fred Akers. An explosive afternoon for the Oklahoma Sooners as they stay in the hunt for a national championship. Fred Akers once again will be scrutinized and criticized by the boosters. Once again, the final score is Oklahoma 47, Texas 12. Travel arrangements made through and a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. Nobody knows Hawaii like United. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports.